Humanity's last stronghold in the Shadow City was under attack from dragons, but its defenders performed their role well and most of the dragons fell dead. Even the almighty dragon could not resist this force, and was also overwhelmed. The Guardian of Time Otto tried to convince the Elder that their world could no longer be saved. He was ready to burn his body and soul with the help of the Time Dragon in order to open a path to the past. Otto didn't want the old man to lose hope. He wanted to give the new generation a chance to live. The Guardian was confident that with the wisdom of the Elder they could change the future. The Elder was one of those who best mastered the secrets of time, and always watched this place. Everyone belongs to this time, and none of them can leave this world. After hitting the ground with the staff, a seal appeared and the old man began to cast a spell. A book with a time dragon floated above the Elder's hand, creating a golden glow. Those who do not belong to this time will rewrite the fate of humanity. The Elder pointed his staff upward and a bright beam pierced several seals, rushing into the sky. The top of the tower opened and released a long light tunnel, which was a passage. Some time later, at the end of this passage, several pairs of violet eyes appeared behind the clouds. A large monster, vaguely resembling an octopus, began to devour this passage. It turned out that this was a forbidden god, who said that people's pathetic hopes would be swallowed up by despair. The Elder and the Guardian immediately realized that he wanted to destroy the open passage. Humanity, which has let centuries fall into ruins and with this hope, turns to dust. Even if they are dust, they will die heroes, the Elder believed, deciding to show the forbidden god the wrath of humanity. The warriors were surprised by what was happening, and it was the Holy Elder who began to perform the ritual of sacrifice. Their age was coming to an end, so he invited the faithful warriors to join in this great fireworks display of the Day of Judgment. The warriors agreed without hesitation to go with them, and die without any regrets. People from ancient times give a gift to the future. It will pass along the Milky Way and travel to the distant past. They did this to sow seeds of hope for the future of humanity. This will be the generation of the ancient wasteland, where beasts and monsters are rampant. Having beast tamers, they fight monsters and obtain the best resources. Outside the shelters, many dangerous bloodthirsty monsters await them, where death awaits them at every turn. The main base, called Blacklight, has been standing in the dangerous wasteland for hundreds of years. Its current owner was an extremely powerful master, and it was he who created the special camp. And the training methodology for new tamers was the key to the fact that the base existed for hundreds of years. Inside Castle Blacklight, a guy was reading a new announcement on the information board. It said that all the slackers whose eggs had not hatched in 3 years would be transferred to the collection team. Any objections mean death, and training animals is a risk, so you need to enter the camp carefully. The guy exhaled sadly and sat down on one of the barrels standing next to him. Tomorrow is the last day and it shows absolutely no signs of hatching, which is very bad. Continuing to sit on the barrel and looking somewhere into the distance, he was very upset because of this egg. Suddenly a bright flash appeared in the sky, as if a meteorite with a bright tail was flying towards him. This strange shining thing rushed straight at him, and again passing through 3 seals, crashed straight into his forehead. From the surprise and force of the blow, the guy fell off the barrel and lost consciousness. He began to see some bright and clear pictures, as if he was having a dream. He saw dragons, bright lightning and a woman with a spear sitting on one of them, resembling a rider. Suddenly someone started to wake him up and these pictures gradually disappeared. It turned out that morning had already come. Suddenly a folded whip was buried in his cheek. It was done by a guy with a gun behind his back. While the guard asked him questions, he tried to understand what it really was. Did he really dream about that huge dragon that he was able to tame, and do such things really exist? Thinking that the student considered him an idiot, the guard became very angry and swung his hand. He hit the boy on the cheek with a whip, leaving him with a small abrasion and putting him into a state of shock. He had heard that this student was going to join the wandering search party and go into the wasteland to get food. Will he be able to return alive, having got out of the base, because he looked rather weak? As soon as the bully finished speaking, a sound characteristic of a shell bursting was heard. This cracked the egg of Suhung, the youngest student. Everyone turned to him in surprise, because the guy was already desperate that this would not happen. 3 years of effort were not in vain. Raising the egg above his head, he shouted and rejoiced. The bully was shocked that this piece of trash actually succeeded. He immediately became as cute as a cat and started saying that it was a huge misunderstanding. He started calling Suhung sir and promised to inform the head teacher that he had passed the internship and become a master. To suck up more, He pretended that he was confident that the guy would achieve great heights. Suddenly, a tall woman, the main mentor of the tower, Lu Yu, appeared next to them. She informed the newly minted master that he could now interact with his egg. He looked at the future dragon in surprise and began to talk to him affectionately. He was very surprised when sounds came from the egg, as if it had begun to answer him. The head mentor noted that more and more young beast tamers are appearing in black light. And then she noticed a wound on his cheek, angrily asking what it was and who did it. Without any hesitation, Su Heng immediately pointed at the bully, saying that he was the one who hit him. Lu Yu, looking at the offender with a stern gaze, did not understand who gave him the right to beat the master, threatening the bully with 20 lashes of the whip and being sent to the wasteland for punishment. She took the new master with her. Looking after them, he knelt down, in tears and hysterics, begged for mercy, hoping that they would forgive him. The snow-white castle, especially bathed in the sun's rays, looked very majestic. The head mentor led the young master into the office of the owner of the base, Shogu. He turned out to be the first newcomer in this half-year, although he was already planning to join the search party. But he was saved by the unexpected hatching of an egg. Perhaps he should be well rewarded for this. The owner considered this boy very stubborn, since he was able to pass at the last moment. The owner of the Blacklight base offered this lucky guy 2 options. The first option is the opportunity to give it to the lizard with dragon freshness, which contains high-quality dragon blood. Because of this, he will hatch faster and become stronger than other scaly lizards. Perhaps later he will become very strong. The second option is the ability to choose one egg from the owner's collection when the time comes to get a second pet. Thinking that a bird in the hand is better than a pie in the sky, Su Heng chose the first option. Shogu will arrange for the scales to be delivered on the same day, in the hope that the guy will not forget about it and will contribute to Blacklight. Happy now, a master, Su Heng, with his hand on his heart, responded positively to all this. In addition to the castle, Blacklight is divided into 2 zones, internal and external. The inner zone is where wealthy members of the community live and also has a cleaner environment. The outer zone, on the contrary, is considered bad and dirty. Representatives of the lower classes live there. Meanwhile, in the outer zone, screams of pain and incomprehension were heard from Su Heng's house. The sister held him by the ear and shouted at the guy for his absence at night. In the morning she went to the inner zone to look for him, but she was not allowed in and had to wait at the gate. Due to the excitement of the night, she was now very angry and continued to scream at the poor fellow, threatening to tear off his ears. Then there was a knock on the door. The still angry girl shouted in that direction, trying to find out who was there. It was the master's subject who brought Sir Su 3 bags and several stacks of gold. He asked to keep it safe and wished him success in martial arts and in raising animals. The girl was pleasantly surprised and very happy for her brother that everything worked out for him. Mom and Dad would be happy to know that everything worked out for him, and it was not in vain that they sold their last house, because his brother will now become an important person. The sister was so happy that she accidentally began to strangle her beloved brother Su Heng. An awkward silence hung in the room, and the girl suddenly remembered that it was time for her to go to work. After telling him to behave well, she said goodbye to little Han and walked out the door. After everyone had left, and the guy was left alone, he began to look at the things he had brought. The first box contained the large orange dragon scales that Zhou had mentioned. Su picked up the scales. To his surprise, they began to glow due to the interaction with what got into his head that night. He saw that book, with a golden glow, in which everything was written about dragons and their upbringing. He had a vision of how to get a dragon lizard from the egg of a scaly lizard after hatching. To hatch a dragon lizard, you need to combine the dragon's blood root, its scales and the egg itself. Coming out of this trance, the guy thanked him for this vision. Now he knows what he will do next. An adult dragon lizard is a high-class species that can easily destroy a small city. And the one that Su has, the scaly one, is the middle-class type. These are 2 completely different species. Dragon's blood root looks like a regular brown root, but it must be useful for him in some way. One girl was so talented that she eventually surprised the owner of the castle and became his student. The first animal she bred was a high-class dangerous species. If he could breed a dragon lizard, then maybe he would be able to become Zhou's disciple. The guy immediately ran to the medical store to purchase the missing components. Returning home, he crushed the required root and scales in a mortar. After that, the guy poured the slurry into a deep bowl, added water and put an egg into this mixture. He then took pen and ink and drew a seal on the floor as the book said. In the end, The young man put the bowl with the egg in the middle of this seal and some kind of reaction began. The egg began to emit a bright light, releasing a large dragon-shaped glare from the small hole in it. As a result, all this bright light, at high speed, returned back to the egg. In appearance, nothing seemed to have changed, which surprised the boy. A couple of shells broke off from the egg, but it was still the same scaly lizard. Training was actively taking place at the castle's training ground, under the supervision of Lu Yu. A couple of students were discussing Su Heng's absence during training, since he had been gone for 4 days. Suddenly the mentor saw someone in the aisle. It turned out to be Su, whom she immediately attacked with questions. Those 2 students looked at each other, thinking that he was finished, and continued to look in their direction. The guy began to explain himself to Lu, because he had a good reason. She warned with a grin that it would be good if the reason turned out to be serious, otherwise he would be in trouble. At Su's command, paws and eyes appeared from his backpack, and soon the pet crawled out completely. Everyone who saw it was shocked. Someone even said that the animal was scary, because it was not a scaly lizard. Lu immediately realized that this was a particularly dangerous species of dragon lizard and immediately fearfully led the guy to the owner. Joe was angry. He asked if this was his first pet, because this is indeed a very dangerous species. He was outraged. Someone apparently mixed up the eggs and gave him the wrong one, which was a gross mistake. He ordered the bureau responsible for this to be reported, so that the person could be found and fined 3 monthly salaries. How dare they mix these 2 species to create such an egg, almost ruining the future of this young talent. But thanks to the boy's work over all these years, he went through a lot and gained experience. It is a great achievement to obtain a top-level dangerous species from an ordinary egg. Looking at all his efforts, the owner is sure that this is just the beginning and the guy will go far. He is very glad that there is such a talented young man in the castle, and the young man will do everything in due time so as not to let Joe down. And then the owner of the castle made the most long-awaited offer, to become his student. The guy was surprised and couldn't believe his ears while his pet was caressing him on his shoulder. Lu Yu didn't think that after that genius by Su, he would accept someone as a student. Su Heng was happy with this proposal. Naturally, he really wanted it, and went for it, which made Joe happy. That same evening he decided to hold a banquet where all the tamers and their mentors, who, of course, would be free, would be present. They will celebrate the appearance of a talented tamer and his new student Su-Heng. Until the evening there was a celebration of this event at Blacklight Castle, under the patronage of the owner. Su-Heng and his sister returned home, accompanied by the burgomaster's personal guard. While in a carriage, he boasted to his sister that he received 100 gold pieces to support his pet, and she offered to buy the old house and then pay for her education. Squeezing his cheek, she continued to praise him, because she herself would not have earned that kind of money in 3 years. The guy escorted his sister out, reminding her that she had to work tomorrow and closed the door behind her. The most glaring difference between normal and dangerous species is whether they have an innate ability to use magic. The ability to use magic is a magical talent, and talent is a key factor in determining the strength of a beast. The snake dragon lizard, as one of the most dangerous species, naturally has a special predisposition to use magic. Besides the most common evil attack, there are also 6 other skills. Dragon Dream is able to quickly restore strength and regenerate injuries received in battle. Inferior dragon powers, common to most inferior dragon races, and draconic might. Dragons also use the power of the earth, which is a destructive technique. Natural power allows you to use the energy of nature and its resources for magic. The combination of natural strength and dragon sleep makes the dragon lizard so tenacious that its power increases and it becomes almost invincible. Evil is the most powerful technique with destructive power, close to the power of dragon's breath. Su-Heng believed that his baby would become a real master of the beasts. While he was studying the book, the baby managed to grow up, which greatly surprised the guy. He did not know that dangerous species grow so quickly. In the training room, the owner noticed that the pet was indeed very talented. Joe suggested testing the dragonet's power in 3 magical elements, and choosing one that they would focus on first. The element of the castle owner's beast was evil. He showed his ring, which is an animal talisman. An animal talisman is a thing that allows you to keep a huge beast inside you, where it can rest and recover. After all, the animal will become so large that it will be difficult to keep it in the wild. Therefore, tamers often use various jewelry as talismans. The teacher released his pet. It turned out to be a huge scarlet wolf, with the element of evil, of the second rank. It was also his main beast before, and it is very suitable for snake-dragon training. The guy somehow couldn't believe that such a big wolf could be combined with his little pet. The scarlet wolf is a most dangerous species, combining a purebred breed and bestial anger, which is harmonious in tandem with the pet Su. The master of Zhou Castle ordered Su Heng to trust him and lower his pet to the floor. The kid looked in fear at the huge scarlet wolf that appeared in front of him. Su immediately made it clear to the kid that his time had come and he needed to figure it out on his own, without help. Zhou ordered the scarlet wolf to use the evil breath as a good example for the little pet. He opened his mouth wide and a large cloud of magic began to gather there. Suddenly the teacher stopped his beast, saying that everything worked out. The guy didn't understand at first. Then they turned to the baby. He was unrecognizable. Purple smoke was coming from him. The kid took a deep breath to show his rage while Su cheered for him. But due to his age, it didn't work out for him, and he simply exhaled angrily. But the main thing is that he tried very hard. The teacher explained that the animal has now for the first time comprehended the evil element, and this purple smoke is the initial form of breathing in evil thought. He noted that this dragon has great talent. Looking at his first steps, one can understand that he has serious potential. Thinking that the scarlet wolf would no longer be useful, the teacher put it back into the talisman. The kid breathed out a sigh of relief, but he didn't know that this was just the beginning. It would be more difficult. The teacher released the next beast, large and terrifying, with a golden glow. Let him play with the earth platypus, formed from earth magic, animal essence and intimidation. They were frightened when they saw such a huge thing, especially the baby, who hid behind his owner's leg. Although it was up to the teacher to decide, the guy was worried about his animal and wanted to dissuade Zhou. He agreed with Su, but replaced the platypus with a more powerful beast, believing that it would be too simple. This is one of the most powerful animals of the owner of the castle, a dragon that combines the harmony of fire, stone and evil. It turned out to be even larger than the previous one and even more frightening. The baby was terrified, but without showing their fear, they pretended that they were glad to see such a rarity as a dragon. The guy was very lucky that the dragon hatched first. Without it, most likely, he would never have received the second egg. Many tamers dream of owning such a beast, but they can't and don't know how. The guy realized that the grimoire with the rituals of ancient dragons was apparently a very serious thing. The teacher asked about the readiness of the kid, who looked in fear into the eyes of the furious dinosaur. Having commanded the dinosaur, Zhou wanted to see what reaction the little animal would have. The Tyrannosaurus, emitting a very loud roar and spraying drool, rushed towards the baby. Su Heng began to be knocked down by the streams emanating from the dragon, and his baby was scared and confused. The guy felt like a tiny boat that would soon capsize from this huge thing. The teacher pushed the guy aside, telling him to move away, otherwise he would get hurt. The beast seemed very strong. If you look at it this way, his baby, in principle, held up very well. He defended the attack well. But then the teacher ordered the lava Tyrannosaurus to intensify its attack, and it became furious. The kid prepared for the attack and stood in a defensive position, watching the huge beast run towards him. The little dragon tensed greatly, closing his eyes, apparently trying to use some kind of force. Zhou wanted to see if he could withstand this, while Su Heng kept his fingers crossed for his animal. But the baby was able to surprise even Zhou with his attempt to use the lower strength of a dragon against a higher-level Tyrannosaurus, even though he was weak. His dragon has a very high level of magical talent, but can he beat the terrifying terror of the teacher's beast? The young man was glad that his dragon was so strong. He was proud of his pet. Zhou asked if the guy used the dragon scales he sent him. Su Heng used it as soon as he received it, along with that brown root. The owner thought that the animal seemed to have well absorbed the substance in the scales. He may have even been able to obtain some dragon blood, which helped him double his talent. The teacher gave the guy a book in which he collected methods and techniques that would help him develop his beast. There is also an interesting method that develops the power of the mind, which is necessary for the owner of the animal. Also, do not forget about the guy's spiritual preparation during dragon training. The power of the mind is the personal power of the trainer, which is the basis for training the beast. The guy was glad to receive such a necessary gift, for which he thanked the teacher. After leaving the castle, Su Heng was finally able to buy back his family's old mansion. While Sister Su Qing was working, the guy began cleaning, and people, knowing that he had become a master tamer, treated him with respect. Although he could not make the house look like it was in his memories, There was a feeling of relief in his heart. Before telling his sister the good news, he wanted to surprise her, and Soo-hung petted his pet. He decided to go to her work and pick her up, after which he happily ran to Soo-ching, humming some song. Being already close, he heard a familiar voice. It was his sister screaming. As he ran closer, he saw 2 dogs attacking Soo-ching, which she was trying to drive away. Behind the dogs there were 3 guys. One was their owner. They looked like real hooligans. Addressing Ching, he called her beautiful and said that his dogs don't bite. They just want to play and you shouldn't run away from them. They were just laughing at the frightened girl trying to fight off the dogs. It was some perverts telling her to play with them in the evening so that his dogs wouldn't play with her. Soo-hung was very angry with this behavior of the hooligans. He took the brick and began to threaten him to play with him. He swung and hit one of the dogs with all his might, breaking its jaw and bleeding. Calling the hoodlums street rats, he ordered them to stay away from his sister. If the father of one of the guys is the owner of the plantations, this does not mean that he can do everything. The dog owner started yelling at Soo-hung for killing Charlie and unleashed the second dog, Jack, on him. The obedient dog began to accelerate to attack, barking angrily at his brother and sister. Soo-ching was scared and asked her brother to run, but he, hiding behind a brick, just waited. Embittered Jack was already flying with his mouth open towards the guy who was covering his face with his hand. But Soo-hung's pet, having gained strength and anger, stood up for his owner and grabbed the dog's throat. The guy was surprised that his baby was able to take down the big beast, even without a team. He was very happy and proud of his pet, and ordered him to finish off the beast. The bully was stunned by what he saw. He did not understand how this impudent person dared to kill his pets. They took out their knives and were going to kill him for such a strong offense. Angry, with wishes of death, they ran towards the poor guy, who was shielding his sister. Here Soo-hung was not at a loss and gave the command to his little pet to release the power of the dragon. The kid stood on the dog, in front of Soo-hung and Ching, and began to use the power of the dragon, emitting that same purple smoke. The hooligans fell into a stupor. At first they did not understand what was happening, then it dawned on them. They realized that it was a dragon and he was with an evil element. They had better run away, otherwise they would be in trouble. Just in time, security passed by and became interested in what was happening in this alley. One of the hooligans suggested that the chief blame everything on Hung and Ching and asked him to handcuff them, and then it would be time to leave. Just one of them has connections with the local police, and he can simply ask to arrest this, as he called him, bastard. He gloated and imagined what an idiot he would make the guy look like when he ended up in a prison cell. And after he crippled the guy, he was going to meet his little sister right in front of his nose, so that the death of the dogs would not be in vain. The guard immediately recognized Ku and asked where he was going, not paying attention to the dead dogs. Ku immediately ran up to Jing and began to complain that the guy had killed his dogs with extreme cruelty for no reason. He also asked the guard to arrest him and put him in a cell, pointing his finger at Soo-hung. Jing commanded 2 colleagues. They came at him with threats and charged Mr. Ku's dogs. Han threw a brick at the guard's feet, which he used to hit one of the dogs, saying that he used it to kill the dogs. The guards became angry, indignant at how he could kill them, also in the middle of the street. But then his small but evil dragon, with red glowing eyes, peeked out from over the guy's shoulder. The guards were confused and scared when they saw him because they realized that he was a tamer. After the pet showed itself to the men, the guy also showed them his tag. He told them to open their eyes and look at this badge that had tamer written on it. The guards called the boss, pointing him to this inscription, which put him into a stupor. Recently, rumors have been circulating in their database about the burgomaster's second student. He could not believe his eyes that this young man was a student. He took a pistol out of his holster, and shouting that this was impudence, turned sharply towards the hooligans. Pointing a gun at them, he turned to Ku Junyao, wondering how he dared to set up this murder so brazenly. He ordered them to be handcuffed immediately, and if they resisted, to be shot. Ku did not expect such a turn of events, especially not in his favor, saying that he was the victim. He recalled that his father Ku Dingquan, the owner of Plantation No. 5 warehouse, and his father had done him such a favor. But before he could finish speaking, he was punched right in the jaw by Jing Jun and lost a tooth. Since the hooligan tried to escape, he must be punished with canes, so the guard decided. Jing approached him and expressed his gratitude for his quick response to the situation. The guy noted that 3 guards also appeared on time, which embarrassed him. The guard said that if these 3 fell into his hands, they would either die or flay themselves. Han promised to take revenge on this guy in any case when he was released, to which the guard expressed his understanding. With a calm soul, as if nothing had happened, he invited his sister to go home. Qing, proud of such a brave brother and already calmed down, happily agreed. When they left, the guards wondered what was worse, offending the plantation owner or angering the master tamer. In the end, they decided that it was better not to anger the tamer at all, because compared to him they are only small people, and they still don't want to die. Sheng ordered one of his subordinates to find a carriage while he and Lao waited here to take the 3 to the cell. They will be kept near the incinerator, after which they may have to be killed. My sister was pleasantly surprised. She did not think that there would be an opportunity to return to this house again. She was so happy as if she was in a dream, asking her not to faint with happiness. Han gave her the keys to the house. She believed that buying out the old house was just the beginning, and that it would be even better. The sister believed in her brother, and that only the best awaited them ahead. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, which distracted the guy from talking with his sister. Han opened the door to reveal the deputy director of plantation management, Gua. While the guy didn't understand why the deputy came here, Qing came up to say hello. He had just received news from the police that Ku Dingchuan's son had insulted Mr. Su, so he should do them a favor. He planned to transfer the bully to the 30th plantation so that he would plow the land and be an ordinary farmer. Although wild beasts are rampant there and sometimes troubles occur, perhaps former Chief Ku can handle it. Han was pleased that the director paid attention to this, and his little ones seemed to agree. Gua also heard that his sister is the senior agronomist in their plantation system, so she can be promoted to deputy director. The sister was surprised, because she thought that she was not at all suitable for this position in the agronomy department of their department. Of course it's suitable. After all, this is Mr. Su Heng's sister, and if she needs anything, she can always find him and ask for a favor. She happily agreed to help, thereby calming Go and embarrassing her brother with his little power. It seems that when she and the baby become stronger, they have more privileges. The guy persuaded his pet to eat a dish according to the teacher's recipe. It is very healthy. The baby will eat and grow and become stronger. The kid was surprised. He apparently didn't particularly like this dish. He didn't really want to eat it. Food formulas for tamed animals are divided into poor, average, good, very good, excellent, wonderful, ideal and perfect. With only 8 quality indicators, this food is of very good quality, just for a young animal. In addition, this recipe is really very important for the guy as a student, and he continued to study the book. Su Heng didn't understand why the kid didn't like the dish after he tried it. He thought it might be the ingredients, as he looked at the whole plate of dead fish. And then he remembered a book about the rituals of ancient dragons, which he decided to look into and see what was going on. As soon as dragon lizards hatch, they immediately eat their own shells, and then may not eat for a long time. Caring for dragons, snakes and lizards cannot be uniform. It must be focused on certain aspects. At the same time, dragons, snakes, and lizards are quite picky eaters. They prefer food in the form of living creatures. It seems that after reading this chapter, he understood the problem with his animal's appetite. After patting the baby on the head, he decided to look for a new recipe that he would definitely like. Since the teacher gave him a lot of money, he will not have to limit his pet's food. Over the next few days, Su Heng fed his snake dragon lizard according to the recipe from the Book of Rituals. He bought the freshest, only caught seafood and cooked with all the love. The kid ended up liking the new recipe and ate it with great pleasure, but it led to a big problem. Su Heng was shocked. Only 5 days had passed, and his wallet was already empty. Fresh food is always more expensive. Instead of a pile of money, there was only one unfortunate coin left, which rolled lonely and crashed into something. It was the tail of a well-grown animal, which looked at her in surprise. Well, even though there was no money left, his dragon overcame the childhood stage and entered the adult stage. But if they again encounter the dogs, the battle with which then took a lot of energy, now it will not be difficult for him. The guy even imagined this meeting as a dragon preparing to jump, and then a blow and tore it into pieces. He will be able to finish off this one in a couple of seconds, in one breath. And with such scales, an ordinary person without a firearm is not at all dangerous. Even if several adult, strong, armed men confronted him, they would be killed within seconds. Han remembered that the teacher asked to find him in the castle when his dragon entered the adult stage. It's surprising that it's only been 5 days since he stopped being a cub, Perhaps the new recipe really is of a high level. Soon his little dragon will have to learn to use new skills. It's time to stop feeding him formula milk. 10 days later, the guy came to the teacher's office and knocked on the door, waiting for an invitation. He was surprised and thought that the boy was idle, because he had not been seen for a long time. Soo-hung apologized for not attending training, but he had a serious reason in the form of his dragon's cultivation. He noted that thanks to the teacher's recipe, the dragon successfully reached the adult stage. Joe was in complete shock. He did not expect that the baby would grow so much in such a short time. The guy, downplaying his successes, thought that 10 days was not so fast, for which he received a slap in the face from the teacher, because it took his 8th student by a month to transition to the adult stage. He was outraged by such a statement. Besides, Han's dragon was 2 levels higher than her ice lotus. The guy was already really thinking that it would be better without such a wild growth rate. However, apparently, his dragon not only has outstanding abilities, but also has the potential to grow. If he is already an adult dragon, then he is already familiar with his new abilities. Now he has the power of a dragon, 1st and 2nd degree, which are 2 types of skills. The 1st degree is intimidation, and the 2nd degree is shock and awe. Another breath of evil thought rose to a new level and formed into a stream of evil thought. The teacher was amazed that in such a short time he was able to develop his skills to some extent. He decided to appease the teacher by saying that it was all thanks to his hard work with Han. It was good that he had not yet told Sho about the Master Dragon dream, the power of nature, and the evil attack. The teacher did not doubt him and invited him to the training room to test what he was capable of. At the burgomaster's private training ground, he wanted the dragon to perform at its best. He promised to give the guy the master's talisman for this. After all, he tried hard and went through a lot. And you can't be a master without your ring, the teacher believed, pointing to his pet. Soo-hung supported his pet and asked him to try hard, since receiving a gift depends on him. Joe summoned a huge stone armadillo bear to play with the baby. The guy with the dragon did not expect this, and he asked the teacher how many animals he had with the element of evil. But the teacher is still too weak. He has only tamed 10 or 20 high-danger class beasts, and only half of them are on the level of a stone bear or a lava tyrannosaurus. Joe egged the guy on to show as much as he could and prove that he wanted a talisman. The time had come to see what he had learned, and then a ferocious roar of the bear was heard. The dragon used its power, a barrier that holds back the bear's attack. The teacher was pleasantly surprised that already at the growth stage the dragon could resist a full-fledged individual. He stopped his bear and suggested that the boy attack with evil breath. Soo-hung ordered the snake dragon to use a stream of evil thoughts. His pet charged and fired a small ball towards the bear. It hit him square in the forehead, but it wasn't enough for him to feel anything. The teacher chuckled that the dragon ate little porridge and his little ball was no more than a tickle for a bear. Then a stream of evil thoughts, pearls of evil, and another technique learned by the dragon were used. In this case, he launched not one ball, but many at one point on the bear's forehead. Having fired at the bear, the pet was able to break through its stone armor, which surprised Joe. He praised the guy, because he didn't think that he had studied the evil breath technique so well and that he would use it in an attack. He used the accumulation of dark energy and was able to create a real series of shots, as if they were bullets. Moreover, this series of attacks was very accurate. Joe even began to praise the boy. In fact, there is another technique, the evil pearls, which attacks very precisely, but they will not be able to penetrate such armor. The teacher was pleased with his student's work and, as promised, he gave him a ring. This is a talisman. Although it cannot accommodate as many animals as his, it can still hold 5. Despite the fact that the guy has developed his technique and magic control well, his combat experience is 0. Real fight is the best way to increase it. No training can compare with this. The teacher decided to send the guy to the northern section of their defense, where there would be an excellent opportunity to fight dangerous animals. In 3 days he will have to report to the military headquarters and inform, and then someone will give him an appointment. Behind Blacklight's high walls are 4 defensive lines that guard the entire base. Each site consists of military camps and many beast tamers, together with specially trained military personnel with firearms. The southern and northern borders are the most dangerous, Battles with dangerous species take place here almost every day. Most of the materials in the city related to dangerous animal species were also the results of the hunts of the 4 main frontiers. Within 3 days, Su-hung had withdrawn his advance for the next month of tamers' allowances of 250,000 yuan. He spent most of this amount buying ingredients for his dragon's food and spending 3 days preparing it. By agreement with the military headquarters of the outer fortress, Su-hung went to the northern border, Post 7, as a member of the team. The 4 defensive lines on the base were created in large part for the plantations located in these areas. The area of land from which crops can be harvested is limited, and the total yield of the 7 plantations within the assembly cannot meet the needs of the urban ones. Working on plantations outside the city is second only to joining search parties in terms of danger. This is also one of the most dangerous industries, which the residents of the base are trying to avoid. The head of the 5th plantation was appointed to the 30th. This plantation was located in the security zone of the northern line of defense. Su-hung was driven to the 7th observation point, and wishing him good luck, the chief left. The military men who were already there were surprised that the guy was brought by the head of state himself. One of the soldiers knew that this was a master tamer. It was clear that his luggage was filled with rations for tamed animals. The second was surprised and indignant that they still had not helped him. Knowing who he was, they ran up to him and carried his things, because such a gentleman should not carry them himself. One introduced himself as Xiao Huang. It's worth getting acquainted, because the security of this point depends only on him. But the guy refused to call him that. Why such politeness if he is older than the tamer? So he will call him Huang Ge. One even shed a little tears, because it is rare to meet a tamer who is not pompous. He commanded everyone to hurry up to prepare a feast for Mr. Su. There are only 29 posts on the northern line, and Han must report on the situation at the 7th. More than 10 years ago, it was blown to pieces by a dangerous species flying past. Now a new modern 7th post has been built on the ruins. This will be the place where Su-hung will burst into his first real battle. He was given Avan's dish to try, although there are no special conditions for preparing delicious food, but his cooking is simply excellent. Han asked Huang to simply call him by his first name because they were comrades, otherwise it would be too strange to address him as master. He replied that Master Tamer is a very important person, so he will also call him Su Ge. Even though they both call each other Ge, they will still have their own thoughts in their heads. He decided to ask whether dangerous species of animals are often found here, because they are located on the middle line. Thanks to this, the pressure on the defense is, of course, less than at more distant posts, but there are many fish that can slip through the net. Su Ge showed a bunch of dangerous beasts that they had captured in the past few days. At the middle and end of each month, a military officer arrives with a city team, which is responsible for transporting resources and counting rewards. Han noted with a smile that it was indeed difficult without a tamed beast. One of the guys asked him what his animal could do and asked him to demonstrate it somehow. One immediately began to swear at him that he didn't know the rules, he just wanted to say something about tamed animals. But he was interrupted. He was interrupted by Han's action, because he summoned his dragon from the talisman, at the request of the guys. The guys froze and looked at the dragon with their eyes and mouth wide open. Han introduced the boys to his tamed beast, the serpentine dragon. They were pleasantly surprised that the first animal to be tamed was a dangerous species. Then the dragon jammed. For some reason he decided to use the power of the dragon, shock and awe on the guys. But Han immediately stopped him, cracking him on the forehead so that he would not attack his own, and was indignant at his lack of manners. Hung asked Xiao Hu if he was okay because he looked very scared. Breathing out a sigh of relief, he said that everything was fine and his beast was very strong, and Han was a great master. The guys started laughing at the fact that he almost shit his pants out of fear, but Hu immediately began to deny it. After eating, Su-hung met all his 5 brothers at the post. After a short recovery, Su-hung, on the advice of his mentor, began to train the power of the mind, using the spiritual hammer. The method that his mentor advised him is called Crystal Mind and consists of 3 stages. The first stage is to remove all distractions and create a crystalline environment for meditation around yourself, meditating as if on a giant crystal. The second is working with a specific breathing rhythm, when the mind gradually becomes one with the meditative environment. The third stage, with the underlying spiritual hammer method, they once talked to the teacher about these stages. With his current progress, it would only take 6 months to achieve a crystal clear mind. A monster like Sister Bai Su, who had refined her mind to crystal purity in just a month or so. It must be really bright, like this moon, Han thought as he sat under the moonlight. An alarm sounded and the flashing light began to spin, signaling danger. Then Huang ran in and hurried Su-hun, saying that it was time for them to get down to business. It seems to be a dangerous species of the second rank, a clawed beetle. Instead of legs it has armored sickle claws that can easily split cobblestones. He told this information to Wan, learning that this was the most common type of beast in this sector. Although these insects reproduce quickly, killing 4 at once is not a problem. After thinking a little, Wan ordered all team members to prepare for battle. He and Lao Yu will be in the machine gun position of the guard tower. Avin will take the forward sniper position on the northwest side. Xiao Hu and Xiao Lu will guard the 5th and 6th shooting ranges on the first level. Hu, as the commander, offered to help Suga finish off these suckers, to which they all agreed. The bullet flew with a loud pop and whistle towards the dangerous beetles of the second rank. The ability of this dangerous species is perception, the technique of applying armor. These insects created strong shields around themselves, along which bullets flew. At first they simply wrinkled, but after a short time the armor began to crack and burst. Soon the bullets broke through these shields and hit the terrible insects. It turned out well, they finished off 1,000 at once. But the main thing to remember is that you don't have to blow their heads off, otherwise they won't give us any military awards for this. The scythe beetle's best skill is armoring, which is not particularly effective, but significantly weakens the effect of regular bullets. By continuously firing the machine gun, you can create an excellent opportunity for the sniper to shoot while breaking the shield. Han looked through binoculars at the dangerous beast with a shield, which was being fired at that moment. With each bullet, the cracks on the barrier became more and more. This is what the sniper was waiting for. At the moment the shield is completely broken, the sniper shoots at the animal, tearing off its head and killing it accordingly. He realized that this battlefield was a bad frontier. This is what it really looks like. Although they are not master tamers, their understanding of the situation and skill, honed in repeated battles, are enough to provide all the necessary combat power. Using this tactic, they killed everyone, leaving only one who tried to escape. Huang ordered Xiao Hu and Su Ge to catch up with him and finish off the escaped beast. They got into the car, Huang behind the wheel, Su in the passenger seat, and Hu grabbed the automatic. The dangerous beast, which resembled a praying mantis, was still trying to escape in fear, but they caught up with him because the car was faster, and they turned around and stood in front of him. The beast stopped and looked at them, as if asking with its gaze not to kill it. Su-hun got out of the car and walked towards the poor bug, who was already very scared. Huang ordered Xiao to watch the inner border. Everything there is gilded, so you need to be on alert. At this time, the guy was getting closer and closer to the dangerous beetle, which was still standing quietly and waiting. He decided that this was the best time to train his dragon, and released it from the talisman. His pet quickly flew out, immediately with an angry attack technique towards the beetle. He managed to put up the armor, so the dragon broke it and only threw back the beast a little. He fell on his back, but almost immediately raised his head to the guy, groaning something on his. It seems that this armor actually works so well that it repelled his attack with little to no damage. He then commanded the kid to use the stream of evil thoughts, the pearl of evil. The dragon obediently began to attack the beetle with many small magic balls. But it wasn't much of a log either. His new shield was only slightly cracked in places. He had very thick skin, but he was still scared, so he raised his claws up. Then the shock and awe technique was used. The dragon looked very angrily at its target. The kid attacked the beetle, which was already trembling with fear. But this was also not very effective. The poor beetle's eye just burst, and, taking the opportunity, he again tried to escape into the forest. But Han didn't even think of letting him go so easily and ordered to use the earth power technique. This turned out to be the most correct decision. Hitting the ground with her paw, she began to create a shallow path in front of him. All the earth went into one place, growing into a spiky rock and impaling the fleeing beetle. Xiao Hu and Huang Ge had no words. They watched everything that was happening in fascination. Xiao immediately realized that Han did not need help, and Wan sat in goosebumps from such a sight. The next day, Hu told the other guys about yesterday's fight, praising the tamer. Wan admitted that he used to think that Han, like all newcomers, simply decided to get rich. But it turned out that he was a genius himself and very cool. But Han refused and insisted that everyone tried their best. Then one of the guys came running to tell them that someone was coming to them, and they needed to see who it was. The guys ran to check who had come to them. It turned out to be a command convoy. This was strange. Usually, when counting military supplies, the command arrives only at noon, and today they arrived somehow early, and the thought crept into Han's mind that they had come because of him. The convoy drove inside, and the commander-in-chief of the Northern Defensive Line, Lu Ling, got out of the car. The guys greeted him. He noted that they had not seen each other for a long time, but Huang Qingzhu was still the same. This really touched the guy. He didn't even think that Lu remembered his name. It was an honor that he came especially to work with them. Smoking a cigarette, Ling waved it off, saying it would take less than 10 minutes to get here from the barrier. He approached Han to find out how he was settling in here, which put the guy into a bit of a stupor. He needed to report his arrival to the commander-in-chief. Lu Ling asked the guy again, to which he immediately received an answer in the form of a positive report on his adaptation to life here. He patted Su on the head and made it clear that there was no need to talk to him so formally. The teacher had already told him a couple of times that he had taken on a very talented student, Su Heng. He was also told that last time they missed each other at the headquarters because of those bugs, so Lu came to meet him in person. The guys' mouths opened in surprise, looking at their conversation, because the commander-in-chief came to such a tiny post for the sake of Han. Huang thought that Su was an ordinary master and did not know that he was the personal student of their burgomaster. Lu ordered the guys to summarize the battles over the past fortnight at the post so that they would not interfere with the conversation. And he asked Han to call his dragon, since his mentor instructed him to monitor its development, and then report everything to him. Su was glad that his mentor did not forget about him as soon as he left the city, and even sent his spy. He summoned his pet, who emerged majestically from the ring, looking large and muscular for his age. Out of surprise, Lu dropped his cigarette and simply looked at his pet with wide-open eyes. The dragon landed next to his master, no longer looking at all intimidating, and received his share of strokes. The commander-in-chief is shocked by the sight of this dragon, because it hatched just a little less than a month ago. Han, pretending to be a fool, as if he didn't know that they shouldn't grow so fast, replied that he grew up that way after studying dragon magic. Lu lied so as not to seem worse than a beginner, that everything was fine and his pet had even grown even more in due time. The mentor asked to find out how well Su had honed the dragon's fighting skills, and he would do this with the help of his pet. He also has a pet dragon, so he summoned it to have some fun with the baby. The horned earth dragon is a dangerous species with both earth and draconic bloodlines, with the same racial rank as the dragon snake lizard. He was bred by Lu to the level of a full-fledged dangerous species, and he has one main advantage. Thanks to his thick skin and horns, he is able to hold his own against rank 2 beasts at the end of his growth for a short period of time. The baby dragon looked at his master with a pitiful look, because the enemy looked scary and was several times larger than him. Han, worried about the baby, asked Lu's pet to be softer, otherwise he would simply trample his little dragon. He grinned and reassured them that his pet knew sulfur and would not harm the baby. As soon as Su announced himself, Lu immediately commanded his dragon to wake up the baby a little with an earthquake. The horned one hit the ground with his paw and a shock wave of cracked earth hit them. They did not expect this and were a little shocked, but the kid already realized that the battle would not be the easiest. Lu took advantage of levitation. This is the advantage of being able to control spiritual power after training the power of the mind. But now was not the time to think about it, and Su ordered to use an evil attack and dodge the blows. The pet took him by the shoulders and carried him to the wall in order to protect the owner from blows. He then ordered the kid to use the evil pearl against this horned dragon. The snake dragon fired balls at him, but he didn't even feel it, and remained undamaged. Expecting that his baby will defeat the horned one is just a dream. Even losing gracefully would be cool. The main thing is not to win, but to show the results of the dragon's development that it has achieved over all time. And one cannot disappoint a teacher who is so worried about him, being tens of kilometers away. His pet's advantage is speed. He proposed to surround the Hulk while continuing to use the pearls of evil. The kid accelerated and began to move around the horned one with lightning speed, continuing to shoot at him. Soon he collected one large pearl and shot it straight into the enemy's back, as if from a laser cannon. Although he tried hard to inflict a lot of damage on him, in the end it only gave him a small scratch on his back. Han ordered him to use the power of the earth so that he could recover. The dragon landed not far from the horned one and, at the owner's direction, was about to use the earth dance. As with the beetle, The earth began to gather into one spiky mountain, but did not have time. After all, there was an earth-horned dragon against him. He is in this element like a fish in water. Noticing the threat to himself, Lu's pet stomped, creating an earthquake and throwing the baby away. Su Heng immediately rushed to his pet, worried about him, because he flew away heavily, crashing into the stairs. Lu noted that the tactics were not bad, but his dragon's strength was already at the 9th level, so his earth dance was of no use to him. The guy, calming the baby, clarified that Lu himself told him to use everything so as not to disappoint the teacher. The commander-in-chief did not want to offend him, even though it looks like that, but he simply already understands what snake dragon lizards are capable of. Lu praised him, saying that he thought the teacher would be pleased with his results. The serpentine dragon develops much faster than the horned one. Apparently, the teacher really took on a very talented young student. Soon after the commander-in-chief left, winter came and it was wildly cold at the guard post. The walls are not as high and strong as on another base, capable of sheltering from the winter cold. It's only the beginning of winter, and it's already so cold that one of the guys can't even sleep and is constantly shaking. The second guy, with a mockery, advised me to become a master tamer. He has a spiritual cover and feels warm. Suddenly the red light turned on and an alarm sounded, which woke up everyone who was sleeping. Juan ran into them, notifying them of a call from the 3rd guard post. Plantation 25 was attacked by a group of dangerous species. Lao Yu and Avon will guard the house. Xiao Hu and Su He, with Huang, will go on call from the 3rd post. According to Captain Li, the situation is really serious now, because almost the entire 25th plantation is completely captured. More than 20 individuals of a dangerous species and at least 5 of a less dangerous species entered the territory. All the workers are now locked in the staff quarters. They have about a dozen broken guns with which they somehow fight back. It is only a matter of time before the animals get inside, because they have already overcome the fence. They plan to gather support for all patrol base posts in the northern sector and the main force, which will almost completely defend the plantation. The gathering must be completed by 4 in the morning. Since the attack will begin exactly at this time, we need to speed up. 20 minutes left. Huang said to report that he, Zhao Xiaohu and Su Huan from post number 7 on the northern border had arrived at the appointed place. The observer of the 3rd post, plantation number 25, asked to stop by quickly, and he would inform everyone by radio. Over local communications, the guys reported that they had conducted reconnaissance. These bastards broke through the 6th gate on the northwestern side. Now they are tearing pieces out of dead bodies in the grain crops. All the survivors have been moved to the staff quarters and are defending, strengthening the defenses. All fighting units, all vehicles will form a spear shape. 2 armored vehicles will be used as the tips of the spears, directly attacking and opening fire on the dormitory building on the plantation. You need to be careful, these are poisonous wolves. They are resistant to attacks and can easily bite off their heads. 2 tanks standing at the beginning of the so-called spear began to fire at the wolves. The leader of the pack was very angry. Sitting on a hill, he howled at the top of his lungs, thus giving a command to his subjects. Han sensed something was wrong and asked Xiao Hu to move back a little. He was confused by the wild howl. He had heard from his teacher that a dangerous species like a poisonous wolf could evolve into the final form of an alpha wolf. Huang also noticed something was wrong. Turning to Su Ge, he noted that the wolves began to move away, probably as if they were planning something. It must be because of the leader, he guides them. It is not surprising that so many individuals broke through the fortifications. The leader of the pack used one of his skills, poisonous fog, putting the guys into a stupor. On the local radio they gave advice to turn on the infrared sight and be on alert. You should not let your comrades out of sight. Su Heng understood that it was not so simple and continued to insist that Xiao move back a little. Wan turned around and saw a huge wolf, bigger than a car, who opened it like a tin can. This hulk, along with several other regular-sized individuals, began to deal with those who were sitting inside. It was just a companion, a shadow wolf, one of the leader's special abilities, which means there is another leader here. Then they noticed that the double was approaching them. He was rushing towards their car at high speed. With all his strength, he pushed the car sideways, thereby breaking out its windows with his body. The guys dodged the fragments, but slightly lost control of the equipment and were spun around. Wan fired at the leader's double with all his might, but he could not even penetrate his armor a little. It was very difficult. And then the wolf sharply braked and prepared to jump, Doing this, he demolished part of the roof in flight. Suhi was frightened by surprise. Now the cleft palate was very close to the guy. He was not at a loss and called his dragon, which very quickly appeared in a threatening stance. The pet was very small compared to this wolf, but he was still fearless. He began to use the shock and awe technique, thanks to which the wolf was dumbfounded for a while. Then a stream of evil thoughts began, a pearl of evil. As was the case in training, he began to fire at the wolf. He aimed at his head, the balls flew quickly and often, thanks to which he managed to get rid of his head. The headless wolf, having died, began to fall from the car, landing lifeless on the ground. Han called the commander and asked to cease fire. In order to avoid unnecessary injuries, he promised to deal with the leader. The commander from the observation post watched all this with binoculars and saw the strength of his pet. It is not surprising that he already has such power at the training stage, because he is the burgomaster's student. He ordered everyone to cease fire to support vehicle number 10 in the northern sector. They will take care of the rest of the little things so as not to interfere with their battle. At this time the guys were outraged by the density of the poisonous fog. He was interested in another car, to which he rushed, also tearing it into pieces, and cries for help could be heard from there. He tried to drive away this creature with screams, and ordered the baby to use an evil attack. The kid accelerated, and with all his strength attacked the poisonous wolf right in the throat, thereby throwing him away. But the leader did not calm down, on the contrary, he became even more angry. At this time, suspecting nothing, the boy got out of the car and began to thank him for the rescue. But he was equally happy. Even though Han shouted at him to run, he did not have time, and the wolf's tail, sharp as a blade, pierced him. Han ordered his dragon to use earth dance against this damn beast. The baby hit the ground with his paw, and it again began to gather into a large rock. The wolf noticed this and with an evil look used his ability, an ominous blow. The spiked rock hit the wolf, but it was an excellent opportunity for Xiao Hu to shoot at it. He and Wan took a tip from Han and began shooting at the poisonous wolf. The bullets quickly flew at the evil beast, but they bounced off him without causing damage. While he was distracted by the shots, the dragon bit into his neck with all its might, with its sharp teeth. Han knew the wolf would try to escape, so shock and awe was the next move. He rose up and began to gain energy for the technique, and when this process was completed, he went on the attack. With all his speed and power, the baby flew straight into the wolf's face, catching him by surprise. The half-broken car with the guys drove back, having dealt with the bastards. Huang realized that Su Ge was in a bad mood. He looked very lost. He felt fine. He was just thinking, because this was his first serious fight and the first death before his eyes. Previously, they usually did not involve tamers during invasions of this scale, but if not for Han, then the losses would have been twice as large. Wan noted that this time he really saved them, and he was very grateful to the master. He showed the guy his scar on his hand, which remained from the first battle to save the plantation. That battle was much more terrible than this one. More than 50 people were killed and wounded. The armored vehicle was smashed into scrap metal by a huge steel gorilla in mature form, which reduced the crew to mush. In the end, it was Mr. Chow, the then commander-in-chief of the Northern Fleet, who killed the beast, ending the battle. Wan offered the boy a drink to make him feel better, to which he kindly agreed. This is inevitable. They are ordinary people, living here. No one can guarantee that they will fall asleep today and wake up tomorrow and see the sun. He believed that if they were tamers like Han, then they would have the ability to control their own destiny. The guy suggested not to think about this, to return home and eat the food prepared by Avon. Wan agreed, laughing, and offered to eat more so that he would get tired of cooking for them. The battle to save the plantation was when Suhun came face to face with death. After this nightmare, he realized that only constant strengthening can help and protect those around him in this chaotic world. Over the next month, Su-Hing began special training for himself and the dragon according to that book, and achieved remarkable results. At the same time, the dragon increased in size and its mastery of the 3 elements increased 100-fold. Just when Su-He was deep in training, his old acquaintance arrived at the 7th post. Then Commander-in-Chief Lu appeared, sitting astride a lion, and greeted the guy. Han immediately wondered if he could also ride his dragon later. It's so cool. Lu heard that the guy took part in the battle and showed himself well, and even the commander praised him. This is exactly how a student of the burgomaster should behave. Han remembered that third brother was supposed to come once a month, but he had not passed yet. He made an excuse that he had a couple of free days and decided to visit the guy now, so as not to ruin his plans later. Now it's time to call on your lizard dragons so they can train and catch up. Han agreed and turned to the baby, who had already grown a lot since the last meeting. The commander-in-chief was shocked that his pet was growing so quickly. Maybe he had the perfect formula. He lied that he always used the formula that the teacher gave. Probably it just suits my animal very well. Lu refused to train with him, saying that he shouldn't test him anymore. According to the teacher, once the snake dragon reaches the middle stage of growth, its training on the northern front will end. Han was surprised that this happened so quickly, and the guys who had been with him all this time were very upset. They didn't want to let him go so early and said they wouldn't be able to sleep if he left. Han jokingly suggested asking his dragon to look after the guys. One waved it off, saying it wasn't he who said it, but Evan. Apparently they didn't really want the dragon to be their nanny. The guy kept joking that now they wouldn't turn away and run away. They would run around before going to bed with his little lizard. Blacklight training room. Han trained to failure. Su-hung is great. If he could hold out for so long, it means he really wasn't lazy this month, just as the burgomaster said. Lin Fu General Manager Zhou He, an expert in the field of spiritual cultivation of the mind, is processing coins. He congratulated Zhou for choosing his student well. Although he is not as talented as his first sister, he is very persistent. The mayor was also surprised that his internship ended so quickly, after just a month, but it was still a difficult and exciting experience. Han worked hard, which is why he was able to achieve such outstanding results in a short time. The growth and spiritual development of his beast was so vividly felt through cultivation and training. This is much better than when he sat for 3 years waiting for even the slightest progress from the egg, experiencing failures. The fact that his snake dragon was trained and raised to such a high stage exceeded the teacher's expectations. He also gave more confidence in his future success. The guy even thought that the teacher had already agreed to transfer him to another military post. But he was wrong and wanted the guy to take part in the 6th Lands tournament next month. It is held once a year and is a dual tournament. It is believed that this is just an ordinary tournament, but it is held to get into the ruins of the Bloody Forest. These ruins are naturally very different from the usual ruins that can be found throughout their area. Outside, they are separated by a hidden energy barrier that makes them impregnable. They are occupied by an extremely powerful and terrifying racial group of beasts, and the master is a creature of terrifying strength and power. When 6 representatives from each base joined forces and attacked him, the beast was forced to come to an agreement with the pioneers. He then promised to open the secret lands once a year on his own initiative, allowing 3 master tamers to enter the secret lands and explore them by holding a tournament. Since this opportunity to enter the secret lands is so rare, then he will have many strong competitors, hardly having the slightest chance of winning. The area opened to people by the owner of the ruins is also only the outer part of the ruins, and the inner perimeter and core are not completely open. This is truly a treasure for new masters, since the teacher said he will try, Hung said, for which he received the teacher's approval. Besides him, 4 more will compete this time, and tomorrow the teacher will arrange a meeting and get to know them, after which she will begin new special training. The guy wondered where he would undergo this training. It turned out it would be a grizzly forest. In the southern section of the defense line, south of the vast wilderness, there is a large black forest that covers an extremely vast area. There live an amazing number of bears with a body 4 meters long and weighing a ton. They are not able to use energy, therefore they are not included in the ranks of dangerous creatures. Sometimes bears appear, amazing with their fighting power, such that the masters are afraid of them. They fully deserve the reputation of being the ones who can stop babies crying at night. He was scared, because this forest seemed dangerous. He himself would understand everything when he was there. But before that he needed to get himself in order. The cash allowance of 250,000 steel coins has almost been spent, and the next payment will have to wait more than half a month. To maintain the current growth rate, there should be no shortage of food, something Han was very worried about. Each time transferring the advance to an earlier date is not a long-term solution. Apparently, you need to find a way to earn money. In fact, there are many ways for tamers to make money, Han mused. Healer pet tamers are able to heal diseases and wounds, and their income is not bad. Pets associated with vegetation can increase productivity. There is also good pay. Water and electric pet tamers also collect resources. But with the help of the ancient dragon, a more effective way can most likely be found. Initially, he wanted to take advantage of the opportunity, but he didn't find anything all day. And then he saw something interesting. Some people were shouting that they would buy black fat at a high price. He decided to find out a little more about this and approached the buyer sitting there. He didn't have any goods with him, so first he decided to find out why they needed this fat. He should not care. If there is a product, then the man will buy it. If not, then there is no need to interfere with his business. 1 milliliter of black thick fat is equal to 83 coins, and 1 liter is already 1,000 times more expensive. Han didn't expect that anyone would buy black fat at such a high price. It looks like he found a way to get rich. According to the ancient dragon's records, the surface mucus of the black octopus, dark oak resin and thickener are mixed. Although the records also say that the dark tree that produces the black resin is long extinct. All that remains is to figure out the thickener, and he can make money. He, along with the dragon, Xiaoxi tried to figure out this recipe. The dragon had to press the pedal a couple of times. In the end, they got the hang of the thickener really well and ended up with great fat. Among the 13 departments of the 5 bureaus where black lanterns are collected, there is one institution with a special status, the Department of Hazardous Biological Research. Their function is to study dangerous creatures and strange energy phenomena. The research department runs 3 institutes that purchase the black thick fat in bulk. Although the sale may bring in a lot of money, he cannot immediately fill the market with so much black fat. He will have to be very careful so that the secrets of the book are not discovered. The ebony tree is not only a rare species, it also grows extremely slowly, and some herbivorous species like to eat young branches and leaves, so plants taller than a meter are rarely found. From one ebony tree you can collect no more than a few tens of milliliters per year. The appearance of a large number of goods will attract attention, so the easiest way would be to simply find a store, sell and run away. Su Hung walked through the market looking for the store he needed and came across Hong's trading house. He brought 30 liters of fat and asked for 250,000 coins. She happily agreed, but she had a question about where he got so much from. Taking out a blade and putting it to her throat, he made it clear that she should not be so interested in her. You can't spend this money right now. It's better to go to the fortress and exchange a small amount of ingredients. It's worth waiting until everything calms down and meeting up with your teammates at the same time. Wan Sun mentioned that he knew Su Hung and they participated in special training together. In appearance, he is a mediocre person with no talent for taming, but the owner of the fortress himself paid attention to him and will take him as his student. Wan Sun is a tamer who participated in special training with Hun. His controlled beast is an adult mountain lion of medium danger level. Luo Chong is a tamer from a wealthy family, good talent, controls 2 animals of medium danger level. Last year, Lu Han was the captain, although he only took 4th place and was unable to enter the secret room, but he is very strong. Rana, this tamer, is currently the strongest, controls 2 medium danger beasts. Does he really doubt the master's decision, let alone them? Even their teacher would not dare to disobey the master. Everyone is familiar with Su Hun, but they underestimated him. His pet is a snake dragon, and they do not have high-level pets, so there is a gap between them. Su Hun had also already arrived and was notified that the owner was busy, but his friends had already arrived. The manager led him to everyone and left their company so as not to interfere with the young people's communication. Someone said that the captain had come, and someone, with a grin, mentioned that he was with only 1 beast. Han thought this atmosphere was very future. Then a girl spoke to him. She became an official tamer a little over a year ago. Her name is Lin Yusin. She has 2 pets, a mid-level tiger flower ghost and a medium-level electric weasel. Han also introduced himself, saying that he became a tamer 2 months ago and he only has 1 pet, a snake dragon. It is of the highest level. It's cool to become an official tamer in 2 months. And also the first pet snake dragon lizard of the highest level of danger. With a sneer, Hung agreed and said that he was much better than Luo Chong, which angered him. He summoned his red-scaled dinosaur, clearly offended by the phrase that Han was better. Compared to this brute, the snake dragon really has little chance of winning. But according to that book, if you can't crush your opponent, kill yourself against the wall. Its development is quite good, but it seems that it is not a species of the highest level of danger, and it does not have one. This meeting was arranged by the owner of the castle, so Rana, turning to Luo Chong, said to think about the consequences Han would do to him did not know. Luo threatened the guy that it was better for them not to meet at the competition in a month. Han immediately made it clear that he did not even have the desire to unite to fight for the honor of the Black Lanterns. Angry and upset, he decided to simply leave, regretting that he had seen such teammates. Luo doesn't understand what the hell he's allowing himself to do, but Wang Sun believes that they will still have the opportunity to deal with him. Han climbed the stairs outside. He thought about the teacher's words about the grizzly forest. Perhaps these disgruntled comrades are also part of the test from the teacher for him. You need to take full advantage of the training in this forest in order to become a worthy captain when you return home. The next morning, someone knocked on the door of Su Heng's house. They turned out to be, so to speak, fellow travelers for that day. The head of the Black Lantern Guard, Zhang Qing, and several other guys will accompany him to a special training session in the forest. He invited them in, and they began discussing the training plan while looking at a map of the forest. The chief began to move his finger along the map and showed a settlement next to the forest of Himalayan bears, called the Village of Iron. The distance is short, but only half of the route is on a repaired road. In fact, the route is quite winding. In addition, they may encounter troubles along the way, so the round trip will most likely take 1 or 2 days. The boss asked Master Su if he had any questions, to which he received a negative answer. They got together and drove the whole crowd in a car into the forest along that winding road. Black Fire is located in the Grey Desert, just like the Village of Iron and the Grizzly Forest. A vast territory where dozens of large settlements, many small ones and nomadic camps are located. The chief asked the master to wait a little while he announced their arrival at the tea monastery, and in the evening they would rest here. From the tower, the deputy mayor of the tea monastery, Andrew, contacted the Black Lantern team sitting in the car. The driver was the commander of the 5th Tactical Group of the bodyguards of the 1st and 3rd Black Lantern squads, Zhang Qing. They asked him to come to the city to rest and recover, and the commander gave the password. The gate opened and the deputy and 2 guards came out, thanking Commander Zhang for his good job. Old Andrew seems to be in a great mood. This time the commander brought with him a dear guest. He promised the guests to arrange a good place to stay and invited them to enter. He showed them the beast taming items he had prepared especially for Mr. Su. Han to them, he will be their private, for which he received gratitude from Han. When everyone had left, except for 2 guys, the guy called for his pet, because he had been sitting there for a long time. The dragon, already quite grown, appeared and it was time for him to eat something. When the guys saw this animal, they were shocked by the beast tamed by Master Su. They noticed that Han had not opened the cans. Maybe this monster would eat them along with the box. Immediately in front of them, with the help of his dragon power, he opened all the cans and ate all the contents. It seemed to them that he despised them. They explained that the monastery was different from a Black Lantern. There was no curfew and the night life was quite eventful. Several friends from the tea monastery invite the guys to have fun with them in the bar, which is located on the mountain. They will need to have a lot of fun, but without Han, if possible, he needs to find a guide to walk around the city. Suddenly, a little girl with purple hair appeared who had heard that they needed a guide. Reina had no intention of eavesdropping on their conversation. It was her grandfather who asked her to bring them souvenirs from the tea monastery. The private apologized and confirmed that she was indeed Mayor Andrew's granddaughter, and if they needed a guide, she was the best one. Su Heng was glad to meet him, approved of her candidacy for the role of his guide and thanked them for their help. You will not see such architecture as in the tea monastery anywhere else. It is very different from the one in the Black Lantern. Most of the roofs are triangular in shape, and the houses are square or rectangular for volume. The walls are traditionally black and brown. According to Reina, there are hundreds of such buildings. All the residential buildings and shops in the city are located on the slopes of the mountains. A little higher, in the mountains, there is a tiny castle made of stones and earth, and there is also the first building where the local government sits. Tonight there is a beast fight that Master Su can go and watch. Soldiers and civilians sometimes catch wild animals and then fight in the arena, which attracts many spectators. If an animal is injured or dies in battle, its meat does not go to waste. It is used as food for the residents of the city. Today they will bring a special animal that no one has seen before. Its opponent is an adult tiger. There will be many spectators. The tiger may be an ordinary animal, but it is incredibly ferocious. Watching its fight will be useful for the little lizard. Master Heng agreed. He liked the story about the event and the fight was very interesting. While purchasing tickets, they met a woman, an acquaintance of Reina's, who thought he was her boyfriend and started asking a lot of questions. The girl immediately told Aunt Berena that this was all nonsense, and quickly took Mr. Su out of there. Everyone knew this little girl and were glad to see her. They also called her to sit in the best seats. ready to change seats. Gently refusing everyone and saying that today was inconvenient for her, they passed by. Han thought embarrassedly. He was lucky with the guide. A man approached them. He was very glad that Reina took the time to visit Uncle Red. She said that she had come to accompany her dear guest, and it would be good for him to find a better place for them. Otherwise she would have to complain to her grandfather. Uncle Red was surprised to see the same young man he had heard about. And then he saw the ruler's ring on him, and it is better not to quarrel with the owners of such jewelry. He greeted the guest and thanked him for visiting the tea monastery arena. After some time, the presenter came out and announced the start of animal fights. As everyone expected, the city guard brought them a tiger from the jungle, more than 3 meters long, weighing more than half a ton. The tiger was in good shape and he had suffered enough to start the fight. He growled angrily, sitting behind bars, and waited for it all to begin. Traps created by the hunter Ase are the most powerful weapons in the tea monastery. The spectators were also really looking forward to the performance, and were shouting about it at the top of their lungs, and the little girl was not far behind them. The presenter asked the audience to be patient and began introducing today's participant. No one had seen such a strange arena before, and everyone hoped that this captured animal could surprise everyone. One of the workers casually threw a small box containing an animal onto the battlefield. A tiny yellow creature emerged from it, moving away from the impact with the ground. The tiger, huge in comparison with him, was already interested in the little animal and was walking towards him. The kid turned around and noticed that a tiger was hunting him and immediately galloped away. He desperately tried to escape by climbing up the door, but it was impossible, no matter how hard he tried. The audience was amused by this strange creature, and the way it jumped away from the tiger. Soo-hoon looked at it all in shock and a little angrily. It looks like he knows what kind of beast it is. While the spectators were having fun and looking at the ring, a huge tiger chased the poor baby around the entire area. The yellow animal, with the ears of a cat and the beak of a parrot, did not give up trying to escape from there. But the tiger was hot on his heels and the baby had no choice but to simply run away from him. And then he was able to drive him into a corner. The poor baby was shaking with fear and did not know where to run next. Someone was upset that everything was happening so quickly, and someone thought that by this time the tiger would already smear the enemy like a fly. The children liked this animal and asked their parents who it was, but at the same time they continued to enjoy what was happening. According to ancient legends, there are 4 incredibly dangerous and rare species of dragons, for deities. These include mysterious, fairy tale, miraculous and mythical species, and they all differ from each other in appearance. Without a doubt, such speed and reaction are not characteristic of an ordinary beast. Perhaps there is one of them in the ring. The golden mark on his forehead, round body shape. He is a mysterious species. It turns out he is a born treasure hunter. These are extremely dangerous, but almost not aggressive, and they have a rare ability of a mysterious type. They are rare and feed on treasures. Their traces can be seen in dangerous places. It is unexpected to meet him here. Han realized almost immediately that this opportunity could not be missed, because this species was difficult to find. Without being confused, he immediately asked Reina if he could purchase this animal. Uncle Red bought it from the head winemaker, and all the animals here belonged to him. Therefore, the master tamer asked to be taken to his uncle to ask him all the questions about this. But he refused the request. The rules of the battle cannot be violated. It cannot be stopped until one of them is defeated. Reina desperately tried to persuade him, for the sake of her guest and friend tamer Soo-hoon. He continued to deny, insisting that it was not even a matter of money, but of following the rules. She knew that he bought the animal for 1,000 and therefore offered 4,000 for it. She even managed to persuade him, but he reminded him that his family had never violated the rules of the arena. Han realized that his uncle was most likely worried about the bets already placed and the tickets sold. Red was surprised that this animal was so important to the guy, because it was not that valuable. The master had one idea, because he really wanted to get the animal, but at the same time not break the rules. The uncle announced that due to an emergency the fight would have to be interrupted, to which he immediately received a barrage of criticism and dissatisfaction, because they paid for the tickets and enjoyed the spectacle. He tried to calm everyone down, saying that the cost would be given back 3 times, and the bets would be fully refunded. And the second important announcement was about another incredible battle, instead of the current one. Unexpectedly for everyone, he introduced Soo-hoon, but several years had passed since the last fight between man and beast. The audience liked this replacement. They did not expect this from Old Red. The ferocious tiger, noticing the new prey, immediately rushed towards the guy. The audience even managed to think that he was already a corpse. Rana supported Su with great activity and faith, shouting to him from the stands and cheering for him. "It's time to call your dragon," Han realized and pointed his hand with the ring towards the tiger. A terrifying huge dragon emerged from the ring and looked at the tiger just as fiercely as he looked at its owner. At this point the tiger had ceased to be so aggressive. He was taken aback, apparently frightened, when he saw someone so much larger than himself. The audience rejoiced, because the last time the ruler was seen in the tea monastery was 3 months ago. The spectators did not regret coming today. Although the first fight was cancelled, the spectacle was worth it. Uncle Red was still in shock that the guy was so young and was already controlling the most dangerous creatures. It's good that he was polite to him. He looked at Reina and thought that this time the little girl had a real friend. For some time the dragon and its owner attacked the tiger, but the tiger did not even move from fear. The time has come and Han ordered his pet to attack the now small, compared to him, tiger. The snake dragon began to prepare to attack, screaming fiercely, and the enemy at that time arched in fear. Unexpectedly, the tiger took out a sign that said that he was mistaken and not to blame, and there is no need to kill him. The attack was abruptly interrupted by the same yellow baby who quickly rushed next to them. This speed and quickness of reaction must be related to his physical form. It is not for nothing that he is called a mysterious creature. Despite all this, Han ordered an attack on him. Only not a tiger, but a baby. The kid fearfully began to run away from the dragon flying at him, who was about to use the second stage, acceleration. His pet accelerated, became as fast as the baby and prepared to grab him. But at the last moment the little one managed to jump away from the paw flying to the ground. Next, from the side of Han's ward, dragon power was used, the second level, a blow. He created a huge vortex of purple smoke that went high up outside the arena. Some spectators were shocked, some were even scared, because if you release this dragon even against the detachment of soldiers, it will win. The poor baby was numb with fear and could not move. A huge monster was approaching him. But he did not attack the boy, but simply carefully took him by the skin with his paw and brought him to the owner. In tears, the animal looked at the floor and stuttered, making some sounds, apparently in its own language. In the owner's office, the uncle expressed his admiration for taming the fierce beasts at such a young age. At the same time, Han, apologizing for his tactlessness, asked how they managed to catch such a fast creature. The uncle, looking at the yellow animal sitting in a small cage and pointing his finger at it, asked if the master was talking about him. For the Black Lantern, this place is an important supply point and the main supplier of wine products in the south. Thanks to the skill of its inhabitants in winemaking, this place was accepted as a vassal, and the animal was caught by the old winemaker, See You Man. They say that the kid snuck into the cellar and ruined several barrels that were intended for the head of the Black Lantern. For a week, Old Man Ku Man and his apprentices did not take any action towards him. But one day, having lost all hopes for a peaceful outcome, the old man found a drunk, peacefully sleeping baby and sold it to Uncle Red. Despite its mysterious strength, the animal was so stupid that it got drunk. It is not surprising that it was caught. At the threshold of Han's house, before saying goodbye to Reina, he noted that she had helped him a lot and he was now in debt. She waved him off, saying that all this was nonsense, and wished him to have a good rest before continuing his journey tomorrow. Master Su promised to bring her something interesting from the lantern next time. In his room, putting the baby in a cage on the table, he noticed that he was scared. He should not be afraid of his new guardian, because he, one might say, saved his life by taking him from the clutches of the tiger. The kid was still looking at the master with tears in his eyes, holding onto the cage. The bars were no thicker than a little finger. If there had been a snake dragon in it, it would have easily broken the cage and escaped. Indeed, aggression is alien to representatives of a mysterious species, the guy thought, poking the baby in the nose. Now he will have to take care of the animal. But in the ancient books there is no information about what it eats. Well, it's okay. He'll fast for a few days and then he'll definitely eat everything. Then some signals came from the ring. It was the pet trying to remind him of himself. Han forgot to feed the dragon. Because of all this commotion, we still need to fix it. He went to get a box of food for the pet and placed it next to the baby, which attracted his attention. Having opened all the packages, he poured their contents into one bowl, continuing to listen to the sounds from the baby. The animal, seeing and smelling the food, grabbed its muzzle and was surprised. While Han was stirring the dish for the dragon, the baby was drooling, Apparently he liked the smell. If he eats 3 times more than usual, they will be able to reach the Iron Village by tomorrow evening. He put this bowl full of food next to the small one. He looked at it with huge eyes and an open mouth. Han, not yet noticing how much the baby liked this food, released the dragon for dinner. While his pet happily devoured this tasty treat, the baby looked at him with pitiful eyes, trying to make it clear that he did too. He even screamed a little and turned away. He was so hungry that he couldn't watch someone else eat. Finally, the owner noticed the yellow one's behavior and asked if he wanted this dish, to which he happily nodded. His pet was embarrassed and tensed a little when the guy took a spoonful of spruce from his bowl for the baby. He moved the spoon to the bars of the cage and the baby, holding the bottom with his paws, began to eat the contents with pleasure. Master Su didn't even think that the treasure hunter likes the same food as dragons. Now the baby will definitely not go hungry. The baby ate everything and even got out of the spoon. Han offered more, but it turned out that the dragon had already eaten everything. Han turned to the serpentine dragon, making it clear that if necessary, he would eat less so that there was enough food for both. The dragon clearly didn't like this idea, but now he needs to think about more than just himself. He's the big brother now, so he has to behave appropriately. But they're great, they're both going to have a good time today. The next morning, Suhung said goodbye to Reina and went to the Iron Village. This village is much larger than the tea monastery. There is a metallurgical plant where iron, copper and aluminum are mined. It seems that there was some kind of dependence of the village on the grizzly forest. But because of the law, Zhang Qing could not say it directly, so all he could do was wait for Hung to come and understand everything himself. Having entered the village, Su immediately felt smog, and the smell of burning steel smelted from coal was in the air. Zhang Qing sent Hing to the center of the village for a leadership meeting, and then he realized what Zhang was silent about. The Iron Village turned out to be a town with a civilian population of 1,000 people and 150 military personnel. On paper it is an independent settlement, but in reality it is subordinate to the Lantern, supplying metal and agricultural products. More importantly, the minerals here are mined from the grizzly forest, which is a pipe dream for ordinary people. And the reason why the Iron Village could easily mine them from their shocked Su, the forest was the property of the teacher. More precisely, this is the territory of his animal. The teacher is even, to some extent, capable of controlling the bears there with the help of his pet. In the conference room of the management committee, looking out the window, Han was talking about the strength of the teacher, but he didn't think that he was that strong. According to the management committee, there are 4 overlords in the grizzly forest right now. The strongest of them, the old lantern fighter, is a kind of pro, but the other 3 overlords are also not so simple. Their strength level is higher than that of an experienced fighter. Han sat in the room and thought that even though they are all Black Lantern people, there is still one fact. Pets are no less important to them than money and power, he thought, stroking the baby while the dragon slept peacefully behind him. It would be foolish to go into the grizzly forest and ask the overlords to recognize the treasure hunter. There is a better way to do this, the guy thought, and invited the kid to become his companion. He looked questioningly at Han, so the guy told him to forget about it. He had to eat first, and then he could chat some more. Suddenly he heard disturbances from behind. It was his dragon. The guy immediately began to calm them down, pointing out that they both should eat properly. Having received an interesting animal, Han, who planned to immediately go to the grizzly forest, ultimately decided to stay in the Tea City for 3 more days. The reason is simple. He needed to find a way to establish a mental connection with the treasure-seeking beast so that it would become his beast. Every time Han tried to establish a mental connection, he was repulsed by the consciousness of a beast seeking treasure. Even after rummaging through the old Dragon Codex, he couldn't find any relevant entries. So he came up with a stupid way. He shouted that he would take the baby with him on a treasure hunt. But it turned out that everything was not as simple as it seems, because the baby spent the entire morning chasing butterflies and beetles like a small child. He became so angry that he began to threaten him with death from the dragon if he turned out to be an ordinary animal. His tongue apparently consisted of the word Malu. He often pronounced it, and now he said it again and pointed his finger somewhere. Han turned to the poster that the boy was pointing at. There was an advertisement for a drink, the Surabaya hormone, which surprised the guy. He thought that the baby wanted to say that he caught the smell of treasure there, but the baby was already sitting as if in a trance and muttering something. It seems that this time mystical energy is seething in his body. The guy didn't want to go there. Maybe it's just a setup. it's better to go home. But the animal still could not calm down. He was very eager to go there, and Hans still thought that he had smelled the treasure. He shook his finger at him so that he would calm down a little and ask why he should help him get the treasure. The kid immediately drooped, became sad and even shed a tear, still muttering something in his own voice. However, he loves to do good deeds, but the kid must promise him one thing. The kid immediately began to worry that he would be forced to obey, but he really didn't want that. Han chuckled and reassured him that it was just a mental connection, and in no way submission. The animal agreed with everything that was said and immediately handed his fist to the guy, and they agreed. Without a foundation of affection, it is impossible to establish a mental connection, and if he simply offers it, he will refuse. But establishing this connection, when the animal does not resist, fundamentally changes everything. They went where the boy asked. The bartender served a signature drink, which the girl behind the bar ordered. As soon as the employee saw them, he immediately offered them the same drink, called Hormone. He waved it off, saying that he had just come to look around, which surprised the bartender. Walking into a pub in the middle of the day, and just looking around seemed strange. The worker had seen him for the first time. Perhaps he was a foreign mercenary or a relative of one of the soldiers, and he asked the guys to watch him. They approached some strange thing that attracted this animal. It seems that he is a seeker not of treasures, but of garbage, because what was before their eyes could hardly be called something valuable. But the moment they looked at this stone, a toilet appeared instead. It's hard to believe, but it seems like this shape-shifting stone was mentioned in the old Dragon Codex. The path to transform a beast into a dragon is full of difficulties and hardships, and the demand for evolutionary materials is even higher. Such stones are the main material necessary for the transformation of a very strong species. He didn't even think that he would ever encounter what he dreamed of. He thanked the animal and called it a real treasure hunter. The bartender was outraged that the guy was just standing there and disturbing the peace, but Han interrupted him with an offer to buy a stone. He was quite surprised that someone wanted to buy this stone, which is a decoration. True, the boss found it in the ruins of the wilderness, but after examination by specialists, it still seemed useless. He lied that the stone was expensive, so he could drink and leave. Otherwise, suddenly without the stone he would not have enough style. Han was not at all afraid of the cost and asked his price without hesitation. The price turned out to be 10,000 steel coins, and then it could be taken away, to which he immediately threw several gold coins. The security couldn't believe their eyes. It was so much, and the bartender didn't know how to respond to this. He gave them the above, but they still had to deliver this decoration. Suddenly they noticed the master's ring. They immediately began to apologize and bow. Due to the fact that he did not recognize the tamer, they immediately reduced the price to 1 gold coin. He pointed out to them the bad behavior, and that the masters were working hard to protect it, and he hoped it wouldn't happen again. They promised that this was the last time, continuing to kneel as if afraid of the master. There are 2 ways to tame a beast in a short time. The first way is to take control by force if the beast is of a lower level than the master. Another type is when the animal itself agrees or even wants to be tamed by a master. And at this moment the beast looking for treasure falls, accordingly, into the second category. For 3 days he puzzled over how to tame it. They went in search of treasures and ate all sorts of delicacies. The guy even acted as a mother and told the beast search engine a bedtime story. It turns out that he used a trick and deceived the baby, saying that after searching for treasures, he could collect them in one place. Now the animal treats him like an angel and can't wait for Han to take him in. However, he trains the kid like a dog in the training ground in the backyard of the management committee building. To speed up his dependence on his master, he trained his speed, at a specially allotted time, with the help of a dragon. At first, no matter how hard the baby tried, the dragon constantly caught up with him and caught him. Whenever a beast was abused, he, like an angel, would intervene and stop the abuse from the dragon. He reprimanded his pet to calm down and stop mocking him. The dragon did not understand what his fault was, because Han himself said to chase the treasure hunter. Saving the baby from the claws of the snake dragon caused the baby to rapidly grow in trust and gratitude to the guy. He jumped into Han's arms in tears, and this one stroked him and made it clear that he would listen to him. Thus his plan came to fruition, and then it was time again to go into the grizzly forest. If Mr. Su crosses this river, he will also cross the outer boundary of the forest and reach the inner one, where he will be taken away. Suddenly, a red fiery tiger appeared from behind the trees, with a girl sitting astride it. It was the master of the grizzly forest, Heijio, who allowed herself to be called simply Sister Gio. The guys warmly greeted the girl. She thought that he should have arrived a long time ago, and not just today. The burgomaster has already announced through the communicator that Han is arriving in the forest to undergo a month's training. Han asked for forgiveness for the forced delay, and Saya at that time told the two guys that they were free. He asked what to do with the luggage, but she already had a plan. She called her silver-backed gibbon. This beast has reached its full stage, and from its appearance it is still difficult to tell whether its power has broken free from the shackles of the race, and whether it has advanced even further. She ordered her pet to deliver the things to the base, and the guys showed him where to get them. Sister Gio invited Hung to ride her tiger because it was still a long way to the base, but the guy refused. He decided that now was a very good opportunity to ride his dragon. He summoned his pet, which delighted his sister. He really was worthy of being the master's student, since the first beast is the highest dangerous species. I wonder what he can do, because fighting and riding are two completely different things. Sitting on horseback, he ordered the dragon to catch up with her, but when he began to prepare for takeoff, the guy realized that everything was not so simple. The dragon rushed forward, almost losing its passenger. Han realized that He was right and begged his pet not to rush. At sunset they arrived at their destination, and the sister began knocking on the gate. After the order to open it faster, a guy appeared at the window and asked her to be a little more feminine, otherwise the gate would collapse. The employee asked her to take the key with her next time, otherwise he is already busy. He also needs to open it for her. She began to swear at him, because he has no right to sneak into the base to hide and rest while Commander Shio is away. He suddenly changed his voice and face and immediately said that he was ready to open the gates for her. Immediately he received a slap on the head and the task of taking care of the luggage and accommodation of his younger brother Suhun. He found it strange the way they communicated. Currently only Gio and this guy Shuiyu were in this forest. At first, there were several sergeants in the detachment who performed auxiliary work, but they could not withstand the harsh conditions and transferred. As a result, the work was entrusted to the pets. The head of the base, Lord Shiokei, went to track down a dangerous creature in the wasteland a few days ago. Another master, Linjin, was waiting for Hung to arrive, intending to take him with him to undergo some of his special training. But they, like the guy himself, did not know that he would delay his arrival. Sojin started himself. She didn't hold a grudge against him, but first she offered to come into her room, which shocked the guy a little. Entering the room, he saw a very interesting design. The heads of various dragons hung on the wall. Saya sat on the bed and watched the master's strange behavior, thinking that he was a fool. She told him to turn to her because he was too caught up in the fancy decor. The girl joked that she was not a servant here who did nothing, but simply cleaned. Sister Gio patted the bed, inviting her to sit next to her, which again put Hung into a stupor. He was even a little scared and confused, but she calmed him down, saying that she would not tease him anymore. It seems he didn't know about the Grizzly Forest Master training program before coming here. Usually, when masters from Blacklight undergo such training, they are informed about its specific content only upon arrival at the base. This is not only a sharpening of combat experience, but also the accompanying advantages. Then they started talking about energy fruits, and it turned out that the guy knew about their existence, but he had no idea that they were in this forest. The Grizzly Forest is rich in bear fruits, which is the kind of fruit their castle Blacklight uses often. They increase the strength and endurance of dangerous creatures, useful for evil, bestial and attacking pets. But getting them is not so easy. Every tree with this fruit is occupied by warrior bears. With the help of a token received from the owner of the forest, the tamer can challenge the owner of a specific fruit tree. If available, these grizzlies usually do not refuse to fight, and after victory you can get the fruit. But if someone is not connected to the castle and dares to steal the fruit, all the bears of the forest will attack him and follow the thief until he dies. There was a ferocious roar of a bear ready to fight, and in front of him stood the equally ready-to-fight dragon of Hing. If his pet can defeat his opponent, then a fruit from a fruit tree that is more than 30 years old will be in his hands. It sounded too simple to be true, but it turned out that there was one caveat. Each grizzly accepts a challenge only from the enemy whose aura, in his opinion, is weaker than his own. Naturally, if you want to get a bear fruit, you have to face risks. After the bear's roar, the dragon seemed to grin at him, which angered the grizzly even more. Master Hung himself did not expect that his pet had the talent to mock. The snake dragon has not yet dealt with this dangerous species of animal, so it may be difficult for him. A fight began. They rushed at each other at high speed, ready to attack. As they accelerated, they clutched their paws, but Han's pet did not have time to hit first. The bear did it. The dragon rolled head over heels with a roar. The blow was powerful, so he could not get up right away. Taking advantage of such a good moment, a huge grizzly bear decided to grab him. The guy who was with Han jumped up, shouting that the dragon was in danger. He was very scared for him. He was about to help, but the tamer stopped him, asking him to wait a little, because his pet needed to gain experience. The dragon decided to use suppression, and the bear froze and an attack posed next to him. While he stood there in a daze, the pet rushed by, knocking him off his feet and dropping him to the ground. Then he used the boost, flying into the air. He began to accumulate energy in his paw. Having accumulated enough force, he hit the bear, causing him just 3 scratches. After he wounded his shoulder, the grizzly immediately managed to hit him back, and the dragon flew away again. Han seems to have raised his pet well, and he has already developed the instinct to deliver blow after blow. This is a rare thing, but the desire to break through the grizzly's defense is not enough. Strength is needed. The master agreed with the guy, and it's true that these bears have very strong defense. This is the effect of the bear fruit. It sounds like motivation to win, because after that the dragon will also receive this fruit. Hearing this, the handler began to shout to his pet and support him in every possible way. But then the grizzly used animal healing, and his small wound healed. At this time, the dragon wasted no time and used the breath of evil thoughts, a bomb, accumulating a ball of energy in its mouth. He shot like a laser at the bear, and it lasted for some time and raised a cloud of dust. When the dust cleared, he noticed that there was not a single scratch on the enemy, even though he had demolished several trees behind him, which the grizzly was going to use instead of a club. Taking one, he swung hard. He threw a tree at the dragon, and then several more, surrounding him with them, forcing him to dodge. When they all landed, he found himself in a small trap. A ferocious roar was heard. The guy noticed that he had become even bigger. This is a natural skill, a berserker attack. Apparently he was only pretending to be weak. Not everyone can master this technique, but after it you can instantly increase your own strength and protection. The current snake dragon is unable to defeat an opponent of such strength, and it is time to stop the test. But Han still hasn't received any calls for help from his pet in the spirit world. He believes in him. At this time, the poor dragon did not know what to do with himself and looked very helpless and scared, against the backdrop of a grown grizzly bear. The ferocious opponent swung to strike, but the dragon managed to activate an evil attack, the second speed. He quickly moved away from the bear, and in the end he cut down the tree without hitting the baby. Han's pet began to run away from the attacker at high speed. It seemed like he had some kind of plan. It seemed that at this speed he would not be able to shrug it off and would get hit and lose the fight. The enemy used a bearish throw at speed, at which time the dragon turned to him and realized that the couple was implementing their idea. He struck with the tip of his tail and used the second stage, the earth dance, still looking into the grizzly's eyes. While the bear was in flight, he was hit by a rock with spikes made of stone, which he definitely did not expect. The bear fell and was then hit with finishing blows by several earth balls. The dragon first grinned proudly, then, as if making sure that the unconscious grizzly bear began to rejoice at the victory. The guy thought that this bear turned out to be very stupid. It was even strange that he was not struck earlier. Han, already hanging on the tree, considered that he was just lucky, but judging by his face, he was also happy. Lin, levitating, apologized to the master, because he forgot that he still did not have enough spiritual energy to stay in the air. He whistled, thus summoning his flying pet, the blood-tailed black-billed hawk. The bird flew up to Han, took him by the shoulders and carefully lowered him from the tree to the ground. Jim was sure that this guy was the best student, and in today's battle he did a good job with the dragon. He summoned the lotus hatter, a healing herbaceous animal that takes root in the soil to absorb nutrients. One of the rules of the challenge in the forest is to heal the grizzly's wounds upon completion, otherwise he will be attacked by his fellows. While the lotus was healing the bear, the dragon continued to mock him, and Han thanked Jing for his help. Waking up and squinting, looking in front of him, the bear saw a laughing pet and a lotus standing nearby. This angered him. He jumped up and wanted to attack, but Lin stopped him, because if he wants to fight, he must add another fruit. The bear, rolling his eyes and exhaling, simply turned around and walked away in the opposite direction from the guys. Han thought that he had deceived them, because they still had no fruit, even though his pet had won. Lin called him to follow him. He had to follow the bear to the tree on which fruit grows. The distressed and humiliated bear did not break the rules and led them to the right place. He gloomily took a fruit from the fruit tree with his mouth. He looked somehow depressed. The grizzly placed the energy fruit not far from the pet, who honestly achieved it. But he was not very happy with him, because the bear drooled on him, which was disgusting to the dragon. He made a funny face, showing his disgust, which greatly amused the grizzly. Geo should have mentioned to him that each bear guarding the territory would have a small tree growing that would bear fruit. Right in the center of his lair, there is the main treasure of this forest, Lin said, while the baby carried them the fruit. Coming closer, he spat out the nasty, slobbering fruit into Han's hands, but he was only surprised by its small size. The fruit works. After being absorbed by the pet, after collection, the mysterious energy begins to evaporate after a few minutes. The sooner he eats it, the better, especially since Han does not have special items to preserve the fruit. The tamer began to give the fruit to the dragon to eat, but he simply looked at it in surprise and disgust. He still had a picture in his head of a bear slobbering on this fruit, so he did not give in to the owner's persuasion. Han felt awkward but still asked Lin for water, despite his ridicule that he would also cut him. He washed the energy fruit thoroughly so that there was no bear drool left on it. Sitting down on one knee, Han honorably threw the fruit to the dragon, and he began to chew it with pleasure. The pet had to absorb all the fruit on the spot, and when it was finished, they would leave, otherwise it could lead to a large loss of energy. The energy of the bear fruit should be completely, so to speak, absorbed into the dragon, which surprised Han. He thought it would be easier. Lin summoned his two pets, a mature dangerous lion, a king of beasts, and a rock-web python. He ordered them to guard the dragon while he was eating, so that he could calmly finish what he started and no one would disturb him. It looks like it will take a little more work to absorb the bear fruit. Han happily thanked Lin for his help and protection, after which he began to explain how the fruit works. It cannot be stored, so once collected it usually needs to be taken and digested in the dense forests before returning. If there is no strong accompanying animal, it is better to stay in caves or in trees, but after a few times it is easy to get used to it. At this time, the energy of the fruit spread throughout the dragon's body. It transforms the body and cells of living beings at an unusual speed. The body will be able to produce a stress response, eventually, and this is how the fetal effect is revealed. When all the energy was completely absorbed and reached the final stage, his skin began to burst and renew itself. 13 days have passed since the snake dragon ate the first bear fruit. During these almost 2 weeks, the pet not only grew in size, but also approached the beginning of adulthood. In terms of strength, endurance, and physical abilities, it is no weaker than its counterpart at the late stage of growth, and in terms of development it is slightly better than its counterpart at the late stage. In the past 10 days, he had eaten about 9 fruits, and he was so good at fighting that Lin was shocked and ashamed. He fought nearly 10 grizzlies who occupied the fruit tree, and his win rate was almost 70%. With the exception of the first day, when he took a risk and defeated a stupid bear, the reason for the high percentage was the animal looking for treasure. Almost all the bears that were challenged by the snake dragon were chosen by this little one. Lin Jin managed to collect only 1 fruit, because he did not have such an animal as Heng. But he won't guess about this secret yet. While the guy was talking, a dragon turned to him. He again felt that bear from the first day who knew the berserk technique. Han offered to meet him, and they flew towards the noise and saw an interesting picture. There was a battle between a bear and an armored wolf, a dangerous mid-level species. They usually live in dark caves and mines, but this area is foreign to him. Apparently, this is someone's pet. The wolf's owner underestimated the enemy and summoned a second pet to replace him, a heavily armored wolf. This is the evolution of the previous wolf, which has practically no weak points in the first echelon of especially dangerous species. It is comparable to a weak top-level dangerous species, and is much stronger than Sister Z's fire tiger. Looking at his body, one can understand that his level is perfect. He is very strong. Immediately this guy's pet ran away and with all his might crashed his forehead between the bear's ribs. From the first such blow, the grizzly simply flew into the water, which surprised Han and the snake dragon. Blacklight Castle is more than 100 years old. In the process of development, they fought and entered into military conflicts, and accordingly made enemies. A powerful rival force has a large number of masters capable of controlling such wolves. They control the habitat of the armored wolves, Just like black light controls the forest, it's just a smaller area. Now they appeared in the grizzly forest and came for fruits. Han began to think about how he could save that bear. Suddenly the unknown person took out a syringe and simply pumped the juice out of the fruit without tearing it off the branch. Han didn't even have time to think anything when a scout suddenly appeared above them. While the guy was collecting the juice of energy fruits, the wolf sat quietly next to him and waited. Suddenly they heard a chirp. This was his scout's way of letting him know that there was someone in the bushes. He didn't even realize that someone was sitting there watching him, and was clearly not happy about it. The guy invited his pet to see who had been hiding there all this time. He mounted the wolf and quickly galloped towards Han. But when he saw the scout, he already understood that he needed to leave. A few minutes later, he had already begun to catch up with the dragon and came into line with the tamer. It was possible to escape from a heavy armored wolf of a particularly dangerous type, Han thought. He came up with a plan, which was to sneak into the forest, hide his identity, and set all the grizzlies on him. He took out a walkie-talkie and announced that a poacher had been found and asked for reinforcements to be sent quickly. But something went wrong. Han did not take into account the fact that he had lived quietly for a long time and had not charged the device. In addition, there were always people nearby and I never had to resort to using a gadget. No matter how hard it was, he was going to deliver the news about this guy, no matter what the scenario. The animal, a treasure hunter, sitting on the guy's back and looking towards the wolf, began to give signals to Han. The dragon decided to use acceleration to break away from his pursuers, but this did not help much. An unknown intruder commanded the wolf to use his skills to catch up and kill this rat and its crappy pet. The heavily armored wolf stopped and activated the 5th stage, Evil Attack, Shadow Tread. The wolf accelerated and almost caught up with the tamer, at the same time continuing to prepare for the attack. Han ordered to use the Evil Attack, the 2nd speed, and reminded that they need to move in the direction of the giant trees. The dragon listened to the owner and began to follow the instructions, while the master analyzed the situation. Although the acceleration and sustained effect of the Evil Attack is not as good as that of the Shadow Step, but the advantage is the ability to change directions. Since the wolf cannot do this, it must take great pleasure in crashing into trees. The most successful option is to lure him to Brother Jing, and then a characteristic crunch was heard from behind. His plan was already in motion and working as intended. The wolf had already begun to crash into the trees. Having made his way through them, he ran further after the dragon, under the comments of his rider about the well-running opponent. The poacher decided to summon a second pet, a thunder tiger with 3 attributes, a particularly dangerous species. He made a very interesting decision, and jumped from the wolf to the tiger, and rode further on it. The tiger then used a thunder claw attack, which made Han a little tense, as he was still trying to escape. The dragon tried to fly up to dodge the attack of the enemy's dangerous pet, but he did not have time to do this fully, and received a blow under the wing and a scratch formed on him. This thunder tiger is not only a dangerous species, but also in full bloom. Touching the scratch with his hand, Han began to worry that if he didn't catch up with them, he would definitely kill them. Suddenly he had a new plan and asked the treasure hunter to take them to the nearby territory of the chief bear. The kid closed his eyes and began searching for the right place, using his ability and inner instinct. He sharply opened his eyes and pointed with his finger where they needed to move for help. While accelerating, the snake dragon sharply turned behind a rock, which the tiger clearly did not expect. They decided to use the earth dance as they ran away to try and kill them. He obediently used this ability, and grew a rock with spikes behind him. This did not affect the enemies, but simply cut off the path to Han. But this definitely won't last long. The poacher ordered the heavily armored wolf to clear the road from the obstacle. He accelerated and rammed the grown rock with all his might, breaking it into a pile of fragments. The guy, riding a tiger and accompanied by a second pet, continued to chase his goal. After running after Suhung a little, the guy lost him and ordered the thunder tiger to find him. The animal sniffed and smelled something that greatly frightened him, and raised questions from the owner. The tiger began to tremble with fear and looked towards the cave, from which red eyes were staring at them. From there, the grizzly bear leader ran out at them, scaring the guy with his pet even more. He immediately ordered his now frightened tiger to run while the bear growled at them. At this time, Suhung was already far from that place, but he still heard the cry of that thief. The leader could call the pack to attack him, but he did not call, although even if the guy is strong, he still cannot cope with all the bears. He commanded his dragon to fly away, because if they were late, there was no telling how many fruits would be stolen from the grizzly forest. His pet used an angry, high-speed attack to quickly get to the place, but unexpectedly for them, something flew to the ground nearby, putting Suhung in a stupor. He ordered the snake dragon to jump immediately because he knew that nothing good would happen. The unknown thing, having fully landed, created a small explosion. They managed to jump onto a branch of the nearest tree, so they weren't even hit. In the guy's opinion, it's a pity that this little bastard got lucky and got away. Suhung was outraged that the thief was able to find him, but the main question was how he did it. Addressing him, he continued to call the overlord a bastard, saying that his tiger had the skill of the star robe, and he will be able to find it, even if it is 10 times further than his pet and unique. Suhung thought that this skill was fucking. He ruined everything, because he had a good plan. Let the chief of the bears restrain the thief, and then the lord will try to run back to report what happened. It was a smart tactic, but he should know that it would be easy for masters of his level to escape from a stupid bear. Unlike Suhung, he can use a scaly lizard as a pet. Then the thief ordered his tiger to kill the lord and his dragon, after which he, obeying his master, attacked them. But suddenly the tiger was afraid of something, most likely because the dragon used an evil attack, tap enlightenment. Using the mystical gift of the beast seeking treasure, illusion, the poacher will mistake the dragon for an ordinary scaly lizard. Then the dragon's power will suddenly burst out. Although it cannot scare them away, it is enough to buy time. Fortunately, Suhung managed to make a smoke screen from the waste from the black fat secretion, and now it came in handy. After throwing it towards the poacher, it exploded, blocking his view and causing the tiger to tear up. Before the curtain cleared, the dragon and the lord flew out. This was their last chance. The poacher was indignant that he wanted to escape again, but he would see how he succeeded. He ordered the thunder tiger to chase him, and use his technique to strengthen him. First he had to kill the little bastard, and then his useless pet. As a result, the tiger soon caught up with Suhung and even swung at him to hit him. But the guy was not at a loss, although he was not happy that the beast overtook him so quickly. Raising his hand up, he activated a fire shield using the ring of a 6th rank technique. As soon as the thunder tiger's paw touched this shield, he and its owner immediately flew away. It turns out that Suhung just now learned that the ring can be used as protection, which for some reason the teacher did not say before. It's strange that he was on the verge of death many times, but it only worked now. The poacher was surprised that he had sealed this ability, which was usually only mastered by the highest dangerous species at a mature stage, in the ring. This ring is first class, even among strong masters, but the thief doesn't even have this goodness. Who the hell is he? Suhung began to resent his dragon because he was waiting for something and did not run away. The overlord is still running away, but the thief doesn't care who he is and didn't want to give him the opportunity to tell him everything. He then summoned a white mountain lion using his ring, which appeared with fury. Suhung was upset because of the number of beasts this guy had. This is no way to bully a person. The poacher still thought he was a little bastard and he didn't care who his master was. He was going to kill him today. After these words, he noticed that the guy stopped and was not running away, which was a little strange. Some insect appeared next to Suhung and he, with a sly smile, asked if he recognized this animal. It was a green hummingbird, the pet of Scout Lin Jin. The guy immediately recognized him. A scout on a black panther jumped out of the bushes, causing Suhung to smile sarcastically. Looking at the poacher, he asked who dared to offend his brother by blocking his master. They were still in the grizzly forest, and the thief was wondering if Lin Jin had the courage to stop him. Not only would he dare to stop him, but he would also dare to kill the bastard from the City of Fire. Suhung was surprised to hear about the City of Fire. He had never heard of it before. But somehow there was a rumor about them. For example, the full name of one city is Sinfire. Being one of the deepest and most prominent among the major crowded places, it has always been a rival to Blacklight Castle. Unlike the forest grizzlies, their leader seems to have a deep connection with the wolf-type pet subclass of animals. It was not surprising, of course, that their main pet was the wolf. The poacher actively hinted to him that he wanted too much, and did not have enough strength for it. He released some animals towards the scout, and was going to see if he would still be cool when he died. Lin Jin simply grinned at this. He was also interested in seeing how good he was when he beat him to death. He summoned 2 of his pets to fight, the mountain python and the moon leopard. Suddenly, the poacher's pet attacked the scout and hit him with its paw. Soo-hung was even scared when he called out to his elder brother, but he had nothing to worry about. But the scout was able to fight back the wolf. Someone hit him with all his might in the face with his fist. He was a huge fiery man with a very muscular build, under the tutelage of a guy. The thief was shocked by what he saw, but he immediately recognized what kind of huge man he was. It was a fire avatar, a poisonous, combat, magical and light attribute, a particularly dangerous species. It turns out that when Soo-heng's elder brother released the python, the avatar also appeared. He simply used magical stealth skills to wait his turn. Soo-heng realized that this was the master of the 5 attributes pets, and at this time the wolf was moving away from the blow. The thief recognized this dangerous species and immediately understood why the scout dared to challenge him. Although their intelligence knew about his pets, the thief never received information that there is such a rare pet in their blacklight castle. But since he eventually found out, he should be killed, with which the guy clearly did not agree. Lin Jin thought that his fire avatar could kill the poacher. It seemed like he was daydreaming. A heavily armored wolf, one of the strongest in a particularly dangerous species, the thief thought that he would kill the avatar. The poacher activated Shadow Walk against Scout Lin. With the help of the wolf, the thief's pet began to attack the fiery avatar, who was actively dodging his blows. The creature didn't even feel the damage to himself, but he didn't think twice about it either. The avatar began to hit the wolf in response. He landed several strong blows to its face. Soo-heng sincerely didn't understand how brother Lin Jun could be so strong. His strength was incredible, but the poacher made it clear that this was hardly a strong blow to his armored wolf, after which he activated the weighted armor of his now armored pet. At this time, Lin Jun ordered his fire avatar to fry the scoundrel. The villain activated the shadow move, while the scout caused a firestorm. Then the tearing claws were used, called crushing on the part of the thief. These were powerful attacks, so when they collided in battle, a powerful explosion occurred. This avatar is worthy of being such a rare pet, but it even has 2 6th-level enlightenment abilities. No wonder he injured his heavily armored wolf so badly. The poacher was not at a loss and decided to call another pet from his ring. It was a fiery scaly beast, which is a particularly dangerous species, somewhat reminiscent of an armadillo. Lin simply grinned. Was the villain really thinking, calling on some trash to deal with him? But the poacher didn't need to fight him, he just needed to apprehend him. The guy was very tired and spent a lot of energy, and asked if someone would like to help him kill a couple of people. Lin informed Mr. Xiao and let the poacher know about it. It all depends on who comes first, and the thief asked if he had another plan. Lin at first did not understand what he was talking about. But what kind of riddle, he asked. The thief wanted to trap them. The scout, also Soo-heng's older brother, could have delayed them a little longer. He activated the fire enlightenment and firestorm of his dangerous species, the avatar. In response, the poacher used a fire strike, a fire exit, against his fearsome rival. A strange air vortex formed, from which the overlord's dragons suddenly poked out. The thief did not understand how this rat dared to approach him. He considered him too weak. Taking advantage of the opportunity, Soo-heng used an evil bomb and an evil thought bullet. Then the earth dance came into play. Together these techniques should have been powerful. But at that moment the poacher called another pet, also a dangerous species, a fighting chimpanzee. The guys were unlucky. The villain's people came faster, and he ordered them to get rid of these 2 and leave. After all, they can't be allowed to linger here until that person arrives. One of his men was also riding a particularly dangerous species, a pet manticore. Suddenly, this animal began to attack the snake dragon, although he did not expect it. He only managed to cover himself with his tail, but this did not help him. The sharp spines of the manticore pierced him. They seemed to be poisoned. After such a blow, his tail seemed to be cut into rings. Next came the big chimpanzee, who jumped on top of the poor guys. Lin Jin warned his brother of the danger, and the dragon continued to protect them. The poacher's dangerous animal tried to hit Soo-heng, but the fire avatar covered him. The entire blow fell on his back, which angered the primate, and he used the giant foot technique. But then, just in time, assistants Lin and Su, sister Jiao and brother Shui appeared from the forest. This was their salvation. They immediately charged the poacher and his assistants for their behavior, because these bastards thought that there was no one in black light. One of his charges recognized Shuiyu, reminding him that he was supposed to be in the city, and somehow he quickly got here. But these bastards will be finished today, because if he had not been here, then perhaps they would have achieved their goal. The guys from the City of Fire realized that if he was here, then he was prepared and it would be better if he did not come at all. It's a secret weapon against Master Shio, but this time it's meant to bury them, the 4 bastards. A lot of masters died because of him. Even their master Blacklight would be shocked to see him. The bald guy called a steel monkey. It was huge and with large tusks. Appearing, she let out a terrifying roar, thereby putting the guys in a stupor. Girl, you was amazed. A very dangerous look, and also a mature individual. This is very bad. The animal ran towards the guys with lightning speed, threatening their lives. But unexpectedly for everyone, something hit her in the stomach with all its might, throwing her away from the guys. The steel monkey flew away a fair distance, which surprised Soo-hung, who did not expect it. It turned out to be one of Master Shio's strongest pets, who arrived in time to help. The Nightmare Earth Dragon was large and thick-skinned and, in principle, could withstand this enemy. Undoubtedly, this is the strongest mature super-dangerous species classified as a terrorist species. The golden-back steel monkey was destroyed with just 2 hits. Soo-hung still stood there with the most surprised expression on his face, not believing his eyes. Was it really a super-dangerous kind of force? The guy had seen this for the first time. The guys from the Fire City were upset that Shio Kai had already arrived, because he was a Grand Master. Unexpectedly for them, a bright flash appeared in the sky, which began to cause damage to opponents. It threw the guy off the white tiger, not really hurting the others, but rather frightening and alerting him. A stately man stood on a huge rocky dinosaur. He was even larger than the previous ones. He didn't expect these guys to sneak into the grizzly forest while he was away. They did a good job. Suddenly Shio Kai noticed the severed head of one of the pets, a large snake. He was shocked, a little angry, and asked who dared to do this, to which Soo-hung immediately replied that it was the manticore of that vile bastard from Zinfire. After thinking a little, he decided that Sai and the others should return to the base and rest. Then he was going to act alone, without any help, which surprised the others a little. The plan was correct, but the little bastard ruined it. Lei Ge, Lin Tu, Ma Jing did not arrive. Most likely they were killed by Su. At this time, a gang of poachers was also discussing what had happened. Because of these stupid scouts, they have such problems, they need to be killed. They didn't even know that Shuiyu and that little bastard were in the grizzly forest, and they could only dodge. Now it's too late. Sukai caught them in the act, so the mission failed. It is better to first inform their people about this so that they have time to prepare for their arrival. Anyway, the people from Blacklight are so cowardly that they will not chase after them to take revenge. The guys turned to Luoyu because he was the only one who did not give a positive answer. But the bald guy said just not to fool him and decide for yourself. But then something happened. The ground began to shake under their feet. They became wary, not understanding what was happening. It was a huge creature, Shukai, that appeared in the forest and looked at them through the trees. They found no better way out than to run away from a huge monster that they were unlikely to defeat. At this time, at the base of the grizzly forest, there was already a mountain of corpses of the gang's pets. This time, most of the invaders have been destroyed, but there are 2 more that are not worth chasing. It would be dangerous if they were caught off guard, so they needed to be on their guard. Kai inspected all the areas, and this time the damage was not too serious. Of the hundreds of bare fruit trees in the grizzly forest, only a few dozen, less than 1/10, have been harvested. About 100 bears were killed or injured, which can be considered a heavy loss for the entire grizzly bear pack. The chief of the bear warriors who owns the grizzly forest will be furious when he finds out about this. But the rest is not in their power. Blacklight will take revenge on Sinfire. They will answer to the leader of the bears. Lin Jin's loss is not small. He will report it to the castle and try to make up for it by gifting an unusually skilled and dangerous young pet. As for Heijio and Shuiyu, their timely support is also considered a merit. Kai will report this, and the castle master himself will decide how to reward them, and the guy was glad that he was not asked why he was AWOL in the forest. But they immediately remembered this, and the chief, throwing papers at him, reminded him that he was supposed to be in Rivet Town. He tried to get out of it by saying that he came there to support Lin Jin and Su-hung. But Kai got angry. He was annoyed that he was pretending and he didn't care about the guy and needed to drag his ass back to Rivet Town. He laughed sheepishly, scratched the back of his head and decided to leave before he raked himself even further. The Zinfire conspiracy was foiled thanks to Su-hung. He deserved a reward, the burgomaster will be pleased and reward him. Since he was on his territory, he could not close his eyes to the guy's merits. They have a lot of good stuff in the base warehouse, so he could pick out a few for himself. Su-hung immediately began to deny it, saying that Brother Lin's timely appearance saved him from death. Without his help, he was unlikely to break through to them, so he decided that it was better to give the reward to Brother Lin Jun. Kai was glad that the guys got along well, so both undoubtedly deserved the award. He believed that the decision on the reward and compensation for Lin Jun would be made by the master of the castle, so he didn't have to worry about it. The chief stood up and called Su-hung along to take him to the warehouse to present the awards. He then turned to Commander Shio, asking him to wait until tomorrow to make his choice because he was not having the best day. After working for a long time, Su-hung can finally rest. If he wants to choose a treasure, then he should check it in the Dragon Codex. The final direction of evolution of domestic animals is the same. This is the transformation into a real dragon, becoming the top of the food chain. However, such a transformation is fraught with many dangers, and this requires calculated treasures and materials. So, the economic efficiency of transforming a treasure-seeking beast into a dragon is higher, and accordingly, obtaining evolutionary materials is also higher. It has several transformation paths, but there are far fewer of them than the Serpentine Dragon. But 8 of them will weaken his ability to find treasures, and he will become more of a mixed-type dragon. The only way to retain his ability is to transform him into a treasure-hunting dragon beast. While studying his book, he realized that this was still a mystery to him, but he would still be able to study this issue. Then you need to wait until dawn to go treasure hunting in the warehouse. Arriving at the base in the grizzly forest, he began to wonder if he could go to the warehouse. Boss Shio asked me to tell you that last night one of their forward observation posts accidentally discovered traces of a supply convo, and he immediately destroys it. But since Su-hung did not go yesterday, his reward will have to wait until he returns. He told his dragon that a great idea had come to his mind, which alerted his pet. They immediately ran away, leaving clouds of smoke behind them. The girl noticed that he had been acting strange all day. Seeing Sister Tsaya scrubbing her red flame tiger reminded him that no one cared about the grizzly bears in the forest. Not to mention the special food. After the poachers invaded, the bears also suffered great damage this time. The ancient Dragon Codex has just the right recipe for bear fighters, and he can also use his pet to find the right bear. Who said you have to fight to get a bear fruit? He decided to make the most of his last few days and take a step forward, which raised questions from the dragon. Under the guidance of Su-hung, with the help of the treasure-seeking beast and the snake dragon, as well as the special formula contained in the old Dragon Code. In the end, they made very tasty dishes, and Su-hung treated and bathed the bear. He also collected a lot of crops. In addition to 3 bear fruits, there are several rare bird eggs, all to make the dragon stronger. But in the evening their plans changed. One of the bears intervened after feeding. He used the 4th level bear roar technique, although at first the guy with the pets did not understand what was going on. But then everything fell into place. The bear says that their recipe is why he rewarded the dragon with a fight, so we need to act. While the dragon was contemplating further actions, the bear used the animal energy technique, the tearing claw. Unfortunately, the snake dragon's severed tail had not yet recovered, so it was more difficult for him than usual. Most likely, because of this, the bear was able to lay Su-hung's pet on his shoulder blades, placing his paw on his throat. The overlord ordered him to retreat. They could no longer fight due to the fact that he was still wounded. But it seemed that it was too late. The bear continued to attack and swung its second paw at the poor fellow. Surprisingly, the dragon was able to repel this attack and even grab it with both paws, after which he gathered all his energy and performed the dragon cry, which he had never done before. Su-hung was glad that his ward had a new technique, unknown to him until that moment. The bear flew away quite a bit and got scared, like a cub, after which it immediately ran away. The guy praised because his pet had somehow unlocked a level 4 ability. He stroked his pleased dragon, continuing to praise him for his achievement. The guy didn't think that the pet would be so talented in the dragon power, and couldn't believe that he had 4th level powers. Suddenly, the dragon's scales began to fall off while the lord was stroking it. Apparently, it began to change. Su-hung immediately understood what was happening to him. This had already happened in previous stages. The snake dragon had reached an advanced stage of growth and was also regenerating its tail. His scales became shiny and smooth, his body became more muscular. Soo-hung was very happy that he had finally reached the late stage of growth and continued to pet him. Kai was surprised that his snake dragon had already grown so much, but he had a smile on his face. But at first he doubted that this was true, like the girl, but Jin had already checked this fact for authenticity. Kai clarified where they were now and received directions towards the training base. As the girl said, elder brother Jin checked the updated dragon Soo-hung. Taking care of the supply convoy took a little time, but he had heard about the dragon's growth. Jin confirmed that it meets the standards of the late growth stage. It was amazing how far he had come. Kai was just hoping he would get a little stronger, and would like to see the pet enter that phase. It is incredible that in a month the dragon's strength had to increase significantly in order to cope with the competition. Kai didn't even think that Soo-hung exceeded the plan. It was not bad. That's what the guys from Blacklight should do. They agreed to go to Rivet Town in the morning and return the dragon back to the castle, because the special training was completed. He called the guy to now take him to the warehouse, where he would choose something. Soo-hung was worried that Boss S had just returned from a long trip and it was not too late to take a break until tomorrow. But now delaying until now is considered a violation of his promise. He promised the guy 2 things, so he will compensate and let him take 1 more. They reached the warehouse at the base of the grizzly forest and climbed the steps and entered the premises. The guy's eyes widened. He didn't believe that he could really choose what he wanted. Kai decided to wait for the guy at the entrance to the warehouse while he chose his reward. The guy with great joy and impatience ran inside to the mountain of golden treasures. While he was moving away from the fact that this was the treasure of the grizzly forest, the animal, the treasure hunter, was drooling over everything. Grizzly bear forests are extremely vast and cover not only forests, but also lakes, rivers, valleys, and even mountainous areas. There is a wide range of material from different regions, so if he can only choose 3, he needs to think about it. His animal assistant seemed to have fainted from happiness. Soo-hung poked him on the cheek, trying to bring him to his senses. He asked the baby to remember what he told him yesterday. The pet shook his head to come to his senses. If there are such things in this warehouse, then they need to be found. Then the guy will help him turn into a dragon beast looking for treasure. The baby again made some sounds, apparently in his own language, and galloped off to look for what he needed. It all depends on luck. If he can find them in the end. The guy watched him carefully. The little treasure hunter began to play dirty tricks, but the guy immediately made it clear that he should behave well. If he doesn't do this, then Soo-hung will force the snake dragon to eat him, so he should look carefully. The pet looked at its owner angrily, but still found a large piece of evil fibrous root and a dried magic flower. Shio considered this good material, but did not know what the guy was going to do with it, and suggested taking something else. Soo-hung thanked him for the reward and pretended to remember how his sister mentioned the soil-improving fertilizer that was made here. The huge warehouse door slammed shut behind Boss Shio, raising dust. The warehouse door was closed, so he congratulated the guy on getting his hands on the root and the magic flower and the drill mud. This thing is the core material of dragon treasure essence. This dirt can be changed into something valuable and sold. In Rivet Town, the guys were unloading some boxes under the direction of a man. He shouted at them to be careful with the master's treasures that were in these boxes. Jin talked about the destruction of many Zinfire points by their boss. They may do something in response, and you need to be careful. An acquaintance of theirs came up to them and asked what Jin wanted to say by this, who he looked up to. When Soo-hung arrived in Rivet Town, he entered their territory, so the guy promised to bring him back safe and sound. Jin should have gone back already because Boss Shio has things to do for him. Grizzlies will always be waiting for Soo-hen in the forest, and at this time he promised to return and thank them for their care. The guy ordered the workers to check the fire extinguishing installations. They were leaving soon, and their goal was to get to the Blacklight gathering place. Today, a group of city guards from Rivet Town will escort a big shot to Blacklight Castle. According to information received from their informant, it was this big shot that most likely interfered with their operation. The bald guy thought this was very good. He also received news that Lin Jin had left the base. The bandits decided to wait for the convoy that would accompany what they called the bastard. They began to look at the map, found a place where they would pass, and they would wait in the valley nearby. The bald guy organized a hunt for the little bastard so that he could taste death. But he wanted to make the ruler pay for the death of his brother, and at that time he himself was watching him. Suddenly, a strong explosion thundered behind him, which distracted his attention and alerted him. Jin appeared next to the bald guy with his fire avatar, who ordered him not to hide in the tree. 2 of his companions were killed by Commander Shio, and as for the bald one, he could handle him himself. So, looking at Su Heng's team again, they stopped at the entrance to the valley. Baldy thought this was disgusting because he was using this information as bait. He was going to take this matter into his own hands, even though he was not as brave as he had been in the forest. Kai is here solely to protect their master from black light. Otherwise, why would this scumbag be targeted? And then he gave the go-ahead to Linjin to avenge his pet using his avatar. Looking at the level of damage, it must be a particularly dangerous species. An eldest brother told Su Heng to leave half an hour later. Arriving at the place, the overlord noticed boss Xiao and his elder brother Jin. Su Heng thanked him for his protection. If Mr. Xiao returned to Blacklight Castle in the future, he would definitely repay him. Kai ordered to go, because they shouldn't make the burgomaster wait for them. 2 days later, a caravan of several cars slowly drove into Blacklight Castle. The burgomaster heard that it was a long journey. He wanted to see what had changed during this time. Su Heng promised him that he would not let him down, and called his pet for a check. The burgomaster began to look at the snake dragon from all sides, even looking into its mouth. The lord believed that it was better for his pet not to move, because if the teacher was upset, then they would get both. In the city, many of his subordinates were destroyed, even where armored and heavily armored wolves are tamed. Even his eldest suffered from them. So Su Heng hoped that they would not take revenge on the grizzly forest again, where Elder Lin and Sister Z were. But the burgomaster asked him not to worry, because the owner of the grizzly forest had secretly returned back. Everyone who comes except the highest ranks of Sinfer will die, and at this time the teacher praised the guy for his success. Su Heng not only exceeded the training requirements, but also played an important role in investigating the poaching incident in the forest. The burgomaster asked what reward the guy would like to receive, to which the guy answered without hesitation. He asked the master if he still had the scales of the Supreme Dragon, which he had already awarded him once. The teacher was surprised that he only wanted this, because the guy made a big contribution. Doesn't he really need a normal reward? He asked again if he wanted anything else, but Su Heng asked the master to help with the reward for Lin Jin. At that time, there was a grizzly bear in the forest, if not for Brother Jin, who sacrificed his main beast to save him. If it weren't for him, Su Heng might not have returned, so he owed his life to him. Lin Jin was truly a good candidate. His spiritual cultivation had reached its peak. After the end of the Chinese New Year, he would send the guy a young green flame tiger. Lin seemed to be blessed. In addition, the master has prepared a villa for him in the inner fort, so it is worth taking this time to visit his sister. And agreed to move. The 6 lands tournament will start soon, so he shouldn't be distracted from his business. Su Heng thanked the sir very much and promised to live up to his high expectations. The master noticed that the guy devotes a lot of time to morality. He didn't like it. In the world of masters, strength should be held in high esteem, and when there is a battle, you need to fight and show your strength. On the 2nd floor of his treasury, in addition to dragon scales, you can choose 2 more items. The main thing to remember is that those who are not weak in spirit survive. Only the one who is stronger will survive. Su Heng understood what the teacher was talking about and bowed to him. On the way home, Johi's words made Su Heng think for a long time. After experiencing the incident with Zinfire, he realized one thing: that he can make a choice for himself towards moral principles. But this means that he must decide everything with the help of his strength. That is, to prove his place through his strength. Flying up to the house, he heard his sister talking to someone. He wondered who she was talking to. She was discussing Su Heng with someone. Entering the house, he immediately called out to her and saw the happy face of the girl, who was very happy about his return. She heard from the guards that he was attacked on the road, but he reassured her, saying that it was all over. She jumped on him so much that they both fell to the ground, after which the guy noticed the guests. They were her colleagues from the General Services Division of the Plantation Administration and the Materials Processing Division of the Bureau of Resource Management. One was named Lin Menwan, and the second was Jean Meili. They were both her good friends. The guy had to fight for his life, because that's what their parents would have wanted. He needs to start a family, a business, he needs a better life. She selected the best for him, with big tits and ass, and they also know how to cook and clean. A hard worker like you is constantly away from home, so you are probably looking for someone who can do all this. He told his sister that he was a little tired and wanted to go back to his room and take a nap, so he didn't want to eat. Although Su Heng refused to go on this blind date, he could not resist Su Qing's wishes. Therefore, the entire dinner with my sister and two beauties passed in a not particularly clever atmosphere. It was only when Su Heng took out the treasure-seeking beast that he attracted the attention of the three women. The beast looking for treasure amused them all. He tried hard for this. After dinner, the sister asked Su Heng to take the girls home so that they would not be so scared. But the girls, addressing the guy as a lord, said that he didn't have to accompany them because they lived nearby. They just need to cross the road and they will practically be home. One of them noted that they had a good time, although she did not think that the guy was so formal. But there was no need to worry about them. Suddenly, something appeared in front of them, and the guy covered the girls with his body. Judging by the shadow that appeared from around the corner, it had the outline of a large rat. A giant rat suddenly jumped out at them, with an evil grin, hissing at the guys. The girls did not understand how something like that could get here. It was an adult, low-level, dangerous species, a ferocious rat. It was hard to believe that a rat could grow to such a huge size. Perhaps he mutated after accidentally eating the corpse of some animal. Storm rats live in packs, but this one is still alone. The main thing is not to approach it for now. But the rest did not keep themselves waiting and several more animals ran out to them. Su Heng realized that they had come running to the smell of their favorite chicken, which was lying in the girl's basket. But the guy was not at a loss and ordered his snake dragon to come out, which surprised the girls. The poor rats were frightened by the mere sight of the dragon, and realized that they had better just run away. But did they really think that they could escape from the snake dragon? So the guy sent it after them. He caught up with them and literally dismembered them in a couple of movements, without blinking an eye. An adult, low-level, dangerous species, a storm rat that just 2 months ago the dragon lizard would have had to seriously face. But today he killed as simply as he would kill a chicken. When the soldiers came running, the animals were already dead. At this time of year, rats do not have enough food, so they dig the ground in search of food. You need to request a blood-tailed cat from the Security Bureau. Otherwise, such penetration into civilian premises will be on a large scale. They promised to follow their instructions, and Su Heng asked to send these 4 rats to the chambers of the inner fort. The villas adjacent to Blacklight Fortress are rich and famous, and it is mainly a complex for craftsmen. Villa 73, which Zhou He gave to Su Heng, was originally Zhou He's personal residence. He was the most envied, and the loudest was Lu Ling, who lived in the house opposite. But when he saw his sister Su Qing, he became silent. Su Heng doubted that this old man could have any thoughts about his elder sister. He always thought that this older brother was a little hot-tempered and shy. The workers organizing his things need to be careful not to dirty Master Su's yard. Su Heng, as a master who owned 2 pets, had other plans to recycle the corpses of these ferocious rats. He has a big appetite, coupled with dragon transformation and opening skills. Consumable transformation is costly. After all, the black thick liquid that was used to make strange objects is a strategic material. The mutated ferocious rats that he encountered this time made the guy remember one thing about the bloodline incense from the old Dragon Codex. This is a kind of perfume. It is able to imitate the illusion of a blood connection between the owner and his pet. The ability to briefly immerse the pet and owner in oneself to accelerate the creation of mental connections. Even for those who have not yet become master tamers, this will also speed up the establishment of a spiritual connection with the young animal in the egg. Bloodline incense will become a hot commodity according to the Dragon Codex recipe after extracting the incense from the rat corpses. You need to add the poison of the bladderwort dreamworm and the hairs on the back of the lower leaves of the moon orchid, combining with a binder, and finally distilling and purifying. If it works, it's a great way to make money. After all, the cost was quite low, but he wasn't sure it would work properly. As a result, the guy finished with the perfume and, under the influence of the pedigree incense, the guy and his animals simultaneously entered the illusion. Su Heng seemed to become the old father of the treasure-seeking beast, the same, only an adult, who, after the birth of the baby, the treasure-seeking beast took him with him every day on a search and found a huge mountain of treasures. The kid was touched to the point of stupor. Then the guy came out of the illusion, which was not particularly pleasant. This thing was strange, but the guy will rush to turn the beast into a dragon, so tomorrow he will go to the teacher's treasury. The treasure-seeking beast still had not come out of the illusion, so he continued to jump on the guy as if he were his father. Su Heng arrived at the burgomaster's treasury, and the magister standing there said that if the guy doesn't come next time, he will find him. The lord asked for forgiveness, saying that he was so busy moving these days that he forgot to come. But the Grand Master understood everything, He knew that there was work that needed to be done. A parasitic guardian beast appeared from the door, a particularly dangerous species of squid crocodile crab, mystic, guardian of the double line. The natural skill solid gold can enhance the strength of the entire treasury, and whoever opens the door must receive the owner's agreement. Otherwise, it will be eaten in one gulp. In comparison, Chief Shio's treasury is not comparable to the teacher's treasury. The second floor is also a reserve. He has been watching the owner of the fortress for so many years. For the first time he saw him promise a low-ranking master to take 3 items. The Grand Master asked not to let the burgomaster down, after which Su Heng thanked him for his concern. Unlike Mr. Su's cluttered vault, Blacklight's second-floor treasury is a huge, complex place. It seemed like a huge library. All the treasures were neatly arranged. On top of the treasures there is a box that looks like glass and also glows, and the master meant not to take more than what was required. He was followed by a dangerous appearance, an evil eye monitor with a racial energy skill, a flash of light and shadow. If he looked, everything could be seen even more clearly than on an X-ray, and besides, he didn't know how many other safety measures there were. This time you will have to look for treasures through the seal. You need to find dragon scales and 2 materials necessary to transform into a dragon. At this time, in his ring, the animal was looking for the necessary objects, through the seal, saying something in its language. With the help of the treasure-hunting beast, Su Heng managed to retrieve the scales from the hidden treasure, and 100 grams of spiritual essence. But strangely enough, the floating secret stone was nowhere to be found. This is definitely not a floating secret stone, it is a high-grade dragon scale, and it is a spirit essence. The Grand Master asked why the guy took the stone. He said that he was simply missing 1 brick. He realized that this was a joke, because such a brick contained a secret levitation stone, but it could only be found on the 3rd floor. You might think the guy had a good eye, but in reality he was just good at finding treasures, even in the ceiling. Now all the materials necessary for the dragon transformation ceremony have been collected. The guy studied the instructions in the Book of Dragons and the words of the dragon transformation ceremony. Su Heng thought that he would be something like a snake dragon. But is it really that simple and rude? He took his pet by the scruff of the neck and brought it to the materials to begin the ceremony of transforming him into a dragon. Blacklight Castle Lord Zhou, he has 9 disciples in total, and Su Heng is the youngest disciple. Su Heng's 8 brothers and sisters hold important positions in Blacklight Castle. They can be said to be the core and foundation of the castle. They are also very strong masters, real masters, and look very serious. There was a meeting planned, but it was originally between Bai Su's Su and elder sister Chu Na. They are going to meet with Lu Ling to discuss the hunting guard. The 3rd brother took this opportunity for Su Heng to meet the 2 elder sisters, hence all this thoughtlessness. The girl heard that the master intended the guy to create the 8th hunting guard. Almost everyone had already been assembled into the guard, but she was still selecting the last member. This was the first time Su Heng had heard of the hunting guard, a special unit of Blacklight Castle. The castle settlement and other settlements usually formed this guard, hunting down the young of all sorts of dangerous creatures, as well as searching and collecting various materials and treasures for the main goal. The hunting guard consists of 4 warriors and 12 attendants. There are 7 guards on the castle grounds. In Blacklight, beast eggs brought by the guards are used to select masters, so it is an important organization in the fall. One of the girls invited her older sister Su to introduce her to a good newcomer. There is a girl named Reina who became a master 2 years ago. She has a mature ironwood and a mature sleeping butterfly. They are all mid-level dangerous species with good direct combat power. In addition, she recently acquired a young, particularly dangerous species of blood lion. This is a girl with great potential. Reina, ironwood, sleeping butterfly, these are possibly his teammates from the 6 Lands tournament. Blood Lion, it seems like they all work tirelessly, and Su still can't figure out who is worth taking. It would be a burden for her to distract a newcomer in order to recruit him into the hunting guard. The guy asked to let him introduce her to a newcomer with great potential, an older brother. He definitely meets her needs. It seemed to her that this was her younger brother, and she asked to tell him more about his newcomer. He only became a master for a couple of months. He didn't want to send someone else to such a dangerous place. Su realized that the newcomer he was talking about was the younger brother. She was right. The guy he recommended was their super rookie, younger brother Su Heng. Addressing the 7th sister, he made it clear that he was not putting on a show. He had only been working as a master for 3 months. And he only has 1 pet. but it is a very dangerous species, a snake dragon that the younger brother had a month or so ago. By the time the guy dealt with the northern part of the defense, he was already in mid-growth. Once he's been in the grizzly woods, he may be almost out of late growth. It turns out that a person with a very dangerous appearance at the middle stage of growth is a super newbie. Su was pleasantly surprised that her little brother's snake dragon would soon grow up, and the second sister was looking forward to Su-hun showing them her pet. The guy, without thinking twice, agreed and called him, but he forgot a little about his new size. Brother was a little shocked by his body and aura. He had no doubt about his talent, and he was now in the late stage of growth. Although he became like this just recently, his sister believed that he now needed practice. She invited him to come to her hunting guard to show her everything so he could practice his basic skills. Su turned to the seventh sister, saying that her guards were in full force, but Su was just missing one. She laughed and promised not to tease her sister anymore, so that the younger brother would be hers in the future. After looking at the sisters' argument for a while, Su-hun realized that he had to decide for himself. But then some guy appeared. The man who came for the guy is Tim, the son of Jolly's father, who is also at the pharmacy where Su-hun was trying to sell incense. In order to cope with the Six Lands tournament, Su-hun planned to sell everything and raise the dragon to the next level as quickly as possible. Because incense is a new drug that has never appeared in the castle, and its price will be about 100,000 per bottle. Therefore, sales could not be opened. Su-hun could only send the medicine to the pharmacy for free, but the result would have been SOSO. But today Tim mysteriously came to the guy and said that he wanted to buy a large amount of incense. This time, he wanted to buy more than 10 bottles of bloodline incense from him. Su-hun had been selling samples for 10 days, and he asked for as many as 10 bottles, which was a little strange. He was afraid that the man would not be able to pay, but he was wrong, because payment would be in cash and he would need as many bottles as possible. The overlord was given cards, each containing 1 million, prepared by his father to pay for the vials. But Su-hun was still confused by what was happening, because somehow everything turned out suspiciously well. The man summed up that in this case, they clearly decided on the payment and the goods. The next time they have something new, he should not hesitate to contact the merchant. Su-hun thanked the guys and quickly left, putting the payment cards in his pocket. As soon as the guy disappeared, the merchant changed his face and stopped looking like a good old man. He punched his son in the face because he was just standing there when he needed to help. He was cruel to his son, but the boy did not understand why he told Mr. Su that one of his bottles had been sold. Obviously, the old man just asked the guy to put it on the counter, and he lied. They have so much stuff that they could be in deep shit if they can't sell it. By addressing his son and calling him a bastard, he let him know that he was too young. Not to mention new masters. Even veteran masters will use it to tame new pets. As soon as this becomes known, the demand for these products will exceed supply. But he himself is not a master, so his son was confused by this theory. For this, the guy got it again, because Mr. Su is a brilliant student of the burgomaster, and he is capable of producing these incense. They must establish a relationship with a person like him. You cannot conduct business focusing only on the immediate future. The guy was already covered in bumps and tears. He didn't understand why they couldn't just talk to his father so that he wouldn't beat him. In this tournament, Blacklight's honor is at stake, and for the masters personally, this is a great opportunity. If they can get a good rating, then their career path will be even wider. The guys must remember that they are a team and should help each other together. Lu ordered to get into the cars and prepare for the trip. Wang Sun and Luo Chong in the third armored vehicle, Reina, Lin Yusen in the second. Su-hun will go with her in the first armored car, which surprised the guy a little, because he didn't expect it. One of the guys was outraged because they are not sitting with Mrs. Lu, but only Su-hun gets all the best. He just recently became a master. Perhaps he will be afraid of them. The main thing is not to get angry with Brother Wang. He will have many chances to show where his place is. Compared to the Grizzly Forest, the Six Lands tournament takes place much further away from Blacklight Castle. However, thanks to good roads, the actual travel time is shorter and can be completed in 2 days. And this time, in addition to Blacklight, Red Scorpion City and Luyun, Lianian Castle are participating in the tournament. Although Blacklight Castle is very strong, the other 5 places have their own specialized techniques. It is unclear who will win. In the first half of the night, Group 3 needs to check the fortifications around the camp. The first and second groups prepare food for themselves and their pets. The overall preparation will take some time, so you need to prepare more. While Soo-hung was cutting carrots for soup and then his ring lit up, it was a beast looking for treasure. The guy immediately told him to come out, and the baby appeared. He had clearly changed in some way. It was the dragon scales he had on him, the dragon bloodline bestowed by the scales they had taken from the treasury. The guy looked carefully at the baby he was holding in his hand. There was already a shell on his back. Did the beast gain the ability to fly after absorbing the secret floating stone? He sharply spread his arms, and the baby hovered in the air. He hugged the animal to himself, saying that he was damn lucky. Madame Lin clapped to get everyone's attention. The first thing she needed to do was feed her pets. They needed to be kept in good condition for the tournament. But she didn't see Soo-hung. He was nowhere to be found. One of the guys reported that the guy called his pet and chatted with him. He called him an ordinary human with a scaly animal of mixed blood. The kid noticed this and began to swear at the guy in his own way, saying, "Who are you looking down on?" Scaled beasts are a collective term for dangerous creatures, such as red or fiery beasts, that are born with scales. As for such animals with mixed blood, these are the offspring of them and other dangerous creatures. They are usually very weak. Just give them a reason to make a fuss. But for now this animal was just sitting quietly in your arms. An animal with mixed blood is the same as its owner. A great battle awaits them, and the guy does not know how to feed the pet on time. Brother Wong was still indignant. But what kind of strength can he have with this mediocre beast? But the beasts must be fed first. He summoned his two pets, the Sand Mountain Lion and the Steel Beetle. Su summoned an Iron Demon Tree, a Blood Lion, and a Sleeping Butterfly. The other sister had a Ghost Flower Tiger and an Energy Swift. In special training, Madame Lu said that this time they are all representing Blacklight Castle. They are a team, so to speak, a single whole. It's not good to gossip like that, but someone thought differently. For some reason, one of the guys thought that in a team you need to listen to the one who is stronger. If someone is weak, he will drag the team down. They will still have to rely on Brother Wang. Soo-hung released his snake dragon, which appeared fiercely, scaring some of the pets, especially the beast of that guy who showed off and considered himself stronger than everyone else. He turned proudly and hit his pet, an arrogant guy, with his tail in the face so that he even flew off. He didn't expect this. He was shocked and angry, asking what Soo-hung was doing, to which the master pretended that he did not understand what he was talking about. He looked around and, pointing his finger at himself, asked if he was talking to him. He decided to take the help of his blood wolf, thinking that Soo-hung wanted a fight. The overlord laughed awkwardly, saying that it was a misunderstanding, since he had not even given an order to the snake dragon. He seemed to be in a bad mood, and the guy mentioned that maybe someone had said something bad to his pet. While the guy was making excuses, the dragon trampled the steel beetle into the ground with its paw. Soo-hung immediately scolded his pet for behaving like that. He was ashamed of the beast. The guy was outraged by what Soo-hung was doing. Because they are a team, they should stick together. The guy was confused by the fact that it was normal for them to throw mud at people and their pets with mixed blood. The team will listen to whoever is strongest, and if they are weak, they will drag the team down. So he quoted the guy, reminding him what started it all. Soo-hung understood that they would have to count on him. But to calm down their ardor, he and Brother Wang could arrange a training session. But the brother began to deny, saying that he did not mean the snake dragon, but his scaly beast. In general, it looked like Wang was afraid, but Soo-hung gave him the opportunity to be with Luo Chong. They could choose 4 opponents for the snake dragon. Although the guy seemed kind-hearted, Lu did not expect this from him. Soo-hung promised not to mock them and suggested that they start already. His rivals were already ready. Brother Wang was outraged because the guy considers himself an elder and advises the younger. After the command, the opponents began to attack. The guy used simple and effective tactics, but naive in the face of absolute strength. He ordered his snake dragon to do this, but to be careful not to accidentally kill them. The first to attack was the bloody wolf, which Soo-hung's pet easily fought back and flew away. The guys were surprised that the dragon was able to deal with one of the rivals with such ease. The others attacked him at the same time as he used his dragon power slash, after which an evil attack was launched, speeding towards the beetle, with the help of which he just as easily threw it away. Soo-hung's sisters were surprised. They did not understand when the dragon managed to become so strong. Later, after the battle, they sat around the fire while dinner was being prepared for everyone, because they had spent a lot of energy on the battle. The guy offered the ruler dried snow yak, In response to this, Han asked if it was salted, since the previous fish was too big. It's not salty, and last time he just wasn't careful. But if he doesn't like it, the guy will rinse it again with clean water. The girl was pleasantly surprised. It was strange that they had not noticed such talent before. Wang soon decided to refrain from commenting. The concept of complete dominance of power is common among the wild, but for people like Luo Chong, it is even rare. At least they're on the same team, so he'll just turn a blind eye to it. The place where the tournament took place was called the Valley of Red Maples, because of the corresponding trees growing there. The tournament's main building, made of special stone, durable and self-healing, was built by the joint efforts of 6 main centers. Although expensive, it required no maintenance, and no one lived here except when the tournament began. Therefore, each referee is a professional level or higher, serving on the one hand the game and on the other representing the voice of the gathering place. After getting out of the armored vehicle, Master Su Heng noticed several vehicles from another squad, not from their castle. These guys, this is the Red Scorpion Castle. They are on good terms with the people of Blacklight. Suddenly, someone called Lu Yun in an orderly tone, interrupting their conversation with the guy. It was a stately girl from another castle. She did not know that this year Tawna was leading the team. They had not seen Ji Fei for a long time. She did not think that the people from the Red Scorpion Castle would arrive first. Of course, they had to arrive first to drink their honey beer. Lu missed her. It would have been more boring to drink it herself. Suddenly, a very loud horn from one of the armored vehicles sounded, frightening those talking. Ji Fei turned around sharply, looking in that direction with an angry look. With a swift and confident step, she walked towards that car, puffing with anger. The girl swung and kicked the iron giant, from which 2 guys soon emerged. Ting Qi, a leader from the city of Lin Yun, asked what happened to her, and Wang Yi, a participant from the same city. He didn't understand why she decided to kick such a thing. She scolded the guys like children. She was indignant because these guys were too noisy, but in fact they were just honking to say hello. He said that she could blame him and he would drink later. But Ji Fei didn't think so. He wouldn't get a single sip of Blacklight's honey beer. For some reason, Su Heng was confused that the guy next to the leader was also with Lin Yun. People didn't sleep well all night as column after column arrived, but fortunately everyone made it. The next day, after the traditional rules were clarified and the judges were sworn in, the dueling tournament was officially opened. It adopts a relatively fair scoring system. 30 people meet 5 times, and 1 point is awarded for winning, and for defeat they are deducted. The 8 with the most points advance to the final 8, which will start the final. They arrived at the dueling registration desk and Su Heng began to fill out the necessary paperwork. According to the tournament rules, each participant can register only 2 animals, so it is better not to try to cheat. The guy thought for a while. Because the snake dragon is good, but so is the treasure hunter. One of the guys standing in line for the master advised not to show it, so as not to be in demand. He couldn't believe that in a place as big as Blacklight, such a trash like a mixed-blood beast still existed. The 6 Lands tournament takes place in the dueling arena in Red Maple Valley. In the first qualifying round, the individual competition, each player can change their animal no more than once. If the animal loses the will to fight or is no longer able to fight, it accordingly loses. The 2 sides, Blacklight Castle Su Heng and Yun Hua from Lu Yun Castle, start the battle first. The master's rival, with the dangerous look of a clouded leopard, rudely asked to show his beasts, calling him the cannon fodder of Blacklight Castle. Su Heng could argue which of them is cannon fodder, because the opponent only has a mid-level dangerous appearance. He couldn't even defeat Luo Chong. If the guy only has a beast with bloody scales, Yunhua will not bully him in order to maintain a friendly relationship. Even if he is stronger than the overlord, he must have the courage to fight. At this time the crowd began to rebel. They considered this nonsense, and did not see anything so dangerous in the middle level, and wanted the guys not to waste time, but to fight. Su Heng released his snake dragon with a sly grin, realizing that he was stronger. But his pet simply looked down at his rival and lay down behind his owner, surprising the guy. The opponent was angered by this behavior. He thought that he had no desire to fight and was from the lower class. Yunhua commanded his clouded leopard to attack, and it instantly jumped on the prone dragon. But unexpectedly, while he was jumping, Su Heng's pet hit him in the stomach with its tail, thus throwing the leopard into the air, and the owner did not even have time to blink an eye and understand what happened. Yunhua was angry and perplexed because the snake dragon was using unworthy techniques. Blacklight's Su Heng had won victory, so Yunhua had to summon a second pet for the next round. But the guy decided that the overlord was cheating, because he thought that his best monster was of mixed blood. Although the guy was upset, he did not give up and released the second beast, a horned wolf. But this did not help him either. His beast flew to the same place as the first one, with the same ease. The audience began to riot, saying that this was unfair, and they sent a very dangerous species to the tournament, also of late growth. Brother Su began to defend him, saying that the pet had not reached maturity, but it would not be long before that. This was not considered to be exceeding the limit. According to the rules, you can take any pets. In fact, Suhung is simply super. He was able to raise such a monster on his own. One day, all the animals will line up to be picked up by Su, calling his brother a genius and considering him the personification of strength. The rest of the guys were shocked by his behavior. It seemed like they had been quarreling before, and now he was deifying the ruler. He had never been like this with Wang. He must have let Suhung beat him to death. He didn't even know this guy who said everything. The first round of the Six Lands Duel Tournament was essentially a clash of cannon fodder from all walks of life. There were real masters, like Suhung, who were able to win with one move, but there were also those who pretended to be pigs and watched everything. In addition to the Overlord's complete victory over his opponent, there were also people from Black Light who fought.